beast all over your head. I rise, I set. Say you want it all, if you want it all. Make a move, don't stop and wonder. Gotta take it out, 'cause I want it all. Don't stumble, I'll keep bouncing back. Take a step, 'cause I've been bouncing back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I keep coming back. I can't hold it back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. It's just a mission. I do them in my sleep, no commission. I like a side quest, love opposition. With surgical precision, they make losing their tradition. Yeah, they talk but what they say to me. I'm chewing it all, it's hitting my jaw, the way that it hurts you to think. I'm building a wall, 90s tall between you and me. I'm out of space, you're out of peace. It's a different game when I'm out of your league. Say you want it all, if you want it all. Make a move, don't stop and wonder. Gotta take it out, 'cause I want it all. Don't stumble, I'll keep bouncing back. Take your cap, take your step, take a step, 'cause I've been back. Oh, just like that. I beat you in, crank up back to back. Oh, just like that. I see a dub in my future stats. Oh, I know a place you can go. The doghouse outside my massive abode. It's lovely, it's cushy, and sometimes it's cold. Now sit and watch me get this gold. Oh, it all, it all. I'll bounce back. I just want it all. I just want it all. I'm gon' bounce. I'm gon' bounce back. Said you want it all, but you want it all. Said you want it all. I'll bounce back. Said you want it all, but you want it all. I can have it all. If you knock me down, I will feel the fall.
We open your business, we ain't stopping, yo, it's time to go, let's get it. Whole squad, get ready now, let's go all out, let's win it, win it. We gon' get the bag, we gon' get the loot. And if we gotta fight, you're gonna get the boot. Nowhere to hide, when we in pursuit. 'Cause we the champions, y'all can't dispute.
Fortnite fam, finals is this weekend. We still have 5 spots to fill. And today we're going to have 5 games to fill those spots. But the only thing that matters is the Victory Royale. Welcome to the Last Chance Lobby. My stress levels are already through the roof. Welcome back, everybody. This is the FNCS. This is the Last Chance Lobby. This is it, Kelly. If we want to keep the FNCS dream alive, if we want to take it to finals and look to fight for one of the spots, go to the Global Championships in Antwerp, this is it. And the only thing that matters, Kelly, it's not consistency, it's not how cool you are, it's the Victory Royale.
And I mean, what dreams we got to see keep alive over in EU. I can only hope that we get a taste of that over in NA. Obviously, Savage going through, going to see him compete in the grand finals. And obviously, there's some big storylines, Vivid, of notable players over in NA that are also on the edge of barely qualifying.
I mean, these styles of games are so fun. A win and you're in. That is all that matters. Very excited to go ahead and clinch our last 5 teams. That way we can kind of fill out that 50-team lobby for grand finals on Saturday and Sunday. Very, very exciting stuff, Zeke.
Ah, man, this is extremely... Is anybody else hot? Just me? Okay, that's... IVRs, let's do it. Let's take a look at the session summary. I want to just get right up into the nitty gritty, okay? Vivid likes to grab some of the numbers for us to kind of help contextualize the talent in the LCL. So talk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, talking about the experience that we're going to be seeing in a lobby like this, again, we already have 45 teams already qualified to the grand finals that cannot play in this, which is why we see those FNCS finals appearances amongst all of our players, 230. If you were kind of tuning into the heats, this number in heat number 1 and 2 was around 300, and then in heat number 3, it was actually 400 plus. So this lobby is, of course, going to have a little bit less experience in it. That being said, we still do have some winners in the lobby here, right? 9 total FNCS wins, so kind of surprising to see some players that have won FNCSs before kind of fighting in this last chance to actually make it into a grand final. And then 38 new duos kind of forming right before this last chance qualifier even kicked off. So some last minute adjustments. Hopefully it kind of works out for them teams, Kelly.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about some of these last minute adjustments. Some, I don't want to say potential rivalries because it is, teams breaking up, potentially facing each other. But at this point, and especially NAC, everyone has teamed up at some point. So anyone that they go up against is probably some point their teammate. So I just don't think that there's really any rivalries anymore, at least as far as these games are going to be going that we're seeing today, Zeke.
Yeah, they're all desperate for one thing, the Victory Royale, right? We got to make it to finals. We got to try and aim for one of those global championship spots. That's the only thing on our minds. So there's been some things, some contestation, some contested situations across the map, specifically over in Heat Wave Harbor. Obviously, you kind of hinted at some big names. It's haven't quite qualified. Man, Shadow and Virgo, a duo I just would not have anticipated having to be put in this situation, fighting their way through the LCL.
Yeah, when you say duo, you have to say global qualified duo because that is obviously what is part of their name. They have already made their way to the global championship. So to see them having to go through the last chance lobby, I don't think it's something that we expected. And after not qualifying for Heatwave or for their heats, Heatwave Harbor kind of got opened up and a lot of people fought for it. Now, obviously, they're not going to be going up against a bigger name. They're going to be going up against a smaller team. So I think it's going to be a little bit of an easier situation for Shadow and Virgo. However, if they do qualify through, that does open up the question, Vivid, of are they going to be going up against Veno and Agers there?
Yeah, I mean, this process that they've kind of forced themselves into, kind of being in this last chance lobby here, not only are they going to be contested today, yeah, Kelly, if they do qualify today, if they do win one of those games, then, you know, because they've kind of dropped down into this last chance, they will then probably be contested in grand finals as well. That being said, for Shadow and Virgo, their chances today, I feel very, very good about this duo. I mean, I felt good about them in the heats. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but even just yesterday in that last chance qualifier, they won 4 out of their 10 games. I mean, even when we look back towards the play-ins, they got 3 wins there as well. So this team knows how to win games, especially in these lobbies that aren't necessarily as stacked. So yeah, I feel like Shadow and Virgo are definitely favorites to go ahead and win one of these 5 games today.
Okay, let's talk about another duo, the Heatwave Harbor, right? Bucky and Cam, again, kind of put in a situation. They've got to fight their way through the LCL. Talk to me about what changes we've seen them make.
So Bucky and Cam throughout the season were landing Sinister Strip. However, there was a bit of a fight for it. So they did eventually move up to Heatwave Harbor for Heat 3. And then obviously they were doing that to not go up against a big team, but then had Veno and Agers move to Heatwave Harbor in the last second and lost to that off spawn. But we are not losing. We are all winning when we are blessed with this picture of Bucky. Thank you, production, as always. But now they're back at Sinister. They're much more confident in this drop spot. And I think going up against the team that they are, we're going to have a better performance than what we saw out of Heats.
Now, that being said, of course, Sinister Strip is expected to be a little bit better than Heatwave Harbor. So Bucky and Cam, if they can make it off spawn there out of that contested scenario, then yeah, they'll have really good loot for it. But, you know, I like to take a look at some of the socials here. Bucky himself went ahead and mentioned he is going for height 5 out of 5 games. If you make it to the end game, all 5 games, I'm going to be looking for Bucky up on the high ground.
Okay, I like it. And that's where we got to be, right? We got to be thinking about winning games, and height wins games. Now, for right now, I think about another height, and it's the tallest man that I know, Jacob PR and MDF. Say what's up, guys.
Maybe I should be sitting up there so I can make Zeke right there, but this is where we go into this type of format. This is the biggest change from heat stages into the last chance lobby, is there's no more consistency qualification. So as Vivid was alluding to, we're going to see a lot of these teams attempt to go for the high ground.
That's right. And you know what? Bucky's laying the foundation down perfectly, because that is the story of the day. Jacob, when we start looking at the gameplay, when we start setting up expectations, I mean, you and I both know that this type of setting is going to call for chaos on the high ground, and that makes every game usually very exciting.
Yeah, whether you take it early in the 8th zone or try to take it later on in the game, we have so many examples throughout the weekend. Booga and Braids, Noxie and Dash, they're the ones that are pinpointing the perfect moment to try to take it. You can even see here, even without a lot of materials, sometimes that little bit of elevation means the difference. You can go ahead and laser people from up above, pressure them to burn materials. Even if you're not actually getting the eliminations yourself, getting them out of your way is just as important.
Yeah, usually it's easier said than done, at least from what we've seen, of course, here on the big stage. So, Jacob, with that, I mean, we got 5 games ahead of us. It's going to be really interesting. Zeke, what do you think about that?
I'm thinking we're in for some good Fortnite. I'm going to steal the classic Vivid answer. I'm looking for some good Fortnite. But, of course, we got... But we gotta start taking a look at the lobby list, right? We gotta look at some of these names and maybe break down some of the duos we're excited to see or think we could walk away with the Victory Royale. Let's start with G, Money, and Scare. So I think I'm gonna frame most of these questions kind of in the same way, friends. Can they walk away with the Victory Royale right here when it matters most?
So we did talk about how many newly formed duos there were for the last chance lobby, and this is one of those duos, so that does always raise a little bit of a concern. Scare originally was playing with Chance in Major 2 for the opens. G-Money was playing with OSID, and we have seen Scare go through the last chance qualifier. He did get a win previously, and he actually qualified through the summit through the second chance, so he is used to these high pressure situations.
Great to see. I mean, listen, Z kind of framed the question. Can this duo win a game? Well, they proved that they could win games. Maybe not necessarily in this specific lobby. We are, of course, hoping that they do. But yesterday, in that last chance qualifier, they won 4 out of their 9 games. And listen, guys, at home, I know that the elims aren't going to matter today. I know that the second places, the third places, whatever, they're not really going to matter. But I feel like I have to mention it. They won 4 out of their 9 games yesterday, kind of leading into today to qualify for it. They were in first place on that leaderboard, and they did so with 14 average eliminations. I mean, Scare and G-Money, they are going to be scary.
I like that. I like that. We have high hopes. We have high hopes. Let's bring up that lobby list again. We got to talk about this next duo. So you mentioned, Kelly, OSID, but now OSID is actually paired up with global champion Miro. So same question, right? Can we get a victory royale with only 5 games to do that?
So not only did OSID actually play with G Money, but he also played with Scare. So it's funny that he played in just this year alone, played with both of those players. Now to team up with someone like Miro, who, although they might not be currently in like the best, I mean, you know, the best state of their Fortnite was the best in the world. They're considered the GOAT. So I think bringing someone like OSID along with Miro, who has that experience, they have that knowledge, is going to be a great pairing, and definitely that potential to kind of read what the meta is for this, because you know you never can really predict what an LCL is going to be like, and I think Miro's the perfect mind to bring into this combination and potentially pull out a win.
Yeah, I mean, Miro has to be feeling pretty confident going into a lobby like this. I mean, the guy has won 6 FNCSs. Remember when we took a look at that stats and summary and we were like, hey, listen, we have 9 total FNCS wins kind of playing in this lobby. Yeah, Miro has 6 of them as a little reminder there. So yeah, the experience is going to be there. But I also remember kind of talking to Kelly before the show kicked off today, and she was like, listen, I don't think Miro's going to win the first game, but I think he's going to pick up on some things as we go deeper and deeper into the competition today, as we go deeper and deeper into these games. And I really, really like that call out, Kelly, because I think Miro, if he does go ahead and win it, it'll be one of the later games.
I was so scared that I was talking trash and you were about to expose me for a second,
No.
but thank you. I'm glad it was a good thing.
Kelly, you say nothing but good things all the time. But let's bring up that lobby list. Let's talk about the next set of duos and see more names. We got to talk about Moneymaker and F9. EU plants coming on over, wanting to hang out in NAC, but we're kind of put in a situation we have to fight our way through the LCL. Had they learned enough, taken enough experience on NAC that we can maybe translate that to a win?
Well, you say plants, and immediately I think of little, like, you know, buds of flowers, and maybe they just needed a little bit of watering, maybe they needed a little bit of sun, and now they're ready to blossom and kind of compete. We actually saw in game number 3 for Heat 1 that they got 2nd place, and then even after that, they got 4th. So they are able to make it to the end game, just barely missing out on that win. I think, honestly, between, you know, we have multiple EU players now, what's a couple more for NAC?
Listen, for Moneymaker and F9, obviously, we talked about it in Heats. They had to prove the investment worth it over in Heats, right? You have to qualify to the grand finals to go ahead and justify the move over from EU to NAC. They are now on their last leg here. Only 5 games to make that move worth it. I am really, really hoping for these guys. But listen, Kelly, we have talked about 5 teams already, and there is one team that we have not talked about yet. We're only playing 5 games today. Only 5 teams can actually go through the grand finals, and I feel like the one team that we haven't talked about yet so far is the one team that everybody at home is thinking about. It's Canada. It's Sphinx.
Whew, Canada and Sphinx. Can you imagine after a 6-year run for Canada to make every single FNCS Grand Finals and to be the only player in the world to do that, and then to get an NA West Grand Finals championship, come back to his home region and not make it to the following grand finals? I can't imagine it. Zeke, your script writing is terrible. I'm disappointed in you because Vivid, if anyone has to make it today, it's this duo right here.
And here's the thing, man. We all know that Canada kind of thrives under the pressure. He loves the spotlight. He loves to kind of have these outbursts of moments where he's very, very energetic. So I went ahead, again, I took a look at his socials today. I was wondering, you know, what he's kind of been saying, and he knows it, right? Because he went ahead, he put on socials, quote unquote, today I either lose the longest grand streak in Fortnite or continue it. So the pressure is on. He himself kind of feels it. He knows exactly what is on the line today. That being said, I feel no more confident, I feel like, in any other player than Canada himself. I already mentioned it. He lives in the highlight. He lives in the spotlight. I feel like these guys can for sure win a game today.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. This is Canada we're talking about, okay? This is Canada. This is all part of his grand plan. Clearly, it's, you know, he's going to go ahead and win, right? It's going to be him. He's going to be there. Maybe he's going to, I feel like it's going to be like a game 3 win. Maybe, you know, maybe he's going to go crazy, Kelly, get a game 5 win. It's going to be, it's Canada, Kelly. It's Canada.
I'm rooting for him, but then I look at all these names and there's just so many people I'm rooting for. The Skybasers are here, Brennan and Jordan, and I don't want to be biased, but I'm totally biased for them. I just hope to watch them in one in-game Vivid.
Listen, it was crazy looking at our stats coming out of yesterday. They had 0.64 average elims in their game. We know exactly what they have kind of been doing. And listen, hopefully none of our players that are kind of playing have realized that these guys are in, so they just don't look up, and it kind of plays out perfectly.
Well, it's time. I am getting word the LCL is prepared for us. 5 games, and the only thing that matters is the victory royale. Casters, let's get ready to kick off the competition.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the last chance lobby here, Jacob. These are the final moments, and Zeke gave us a lot to think about. Kanata here has a lot on the line.
Yeah, it definitely does. Whether you're one of those teams, though, that is qualifying for your first grand finals, you're just trying to keep your career in Fortnite alive, or Kanata, there is something on the line for everybody. You could build a legacy, or you can continue that legacy. Over 30 FNCS finals appearances for Kanata. This one is just another one in the books, but it's not going to be easy at all. You look all around, there's contested spots, there's uncontested spots, there's underdog players. This one's definitely going to be interesting.
Yeah, we do have a relatively quality lobby. I'm looking at the names here, and this is going to be super interesting. But, I want to get to the contested jobs. Let's jump in for game number 1.
Some big names that we do know about that are going into this with the thought of being contested. We know Bucky and Cam over at Sinister Strip. We know Shadow and Virgo over at the Heatwave Harbor. But we also got Latte landing. Diego Plays and Ultra going up against Kara and Cam on the other side. And this is where it's going to get interesting, because Latte landings, unless it's a certain bus path, you kind of end up splitting the drop. So instead of just taking like a 50-50 engagement right out of the gate, you kind of get as much of a full loadout as possible before you essentially butt heads.
Yeah, but it's a small POI, right? There's really not much to work with after you get those few buildings there. Jumping over to Kanata and Sphinx. Obviously, this is about the duo of the hour, if you will. Everyone's going to be looking to the Frosted Flats here. You can see there's, of course, those opponents just nearby. I mean, what do you think coming out of this for Kanata, for Sphinx? You think the pressure, you think they're kind of living in the pressure, or are they just here to play their game?
I think right now they're here to play their game. They've dealt with contested fights before. In the beginning of the season, they were even battling against Shadow and Virgo at Heatwave Harbor. So they're not necessarily scared of a fight, especially since now they're at Frosted Flats. So the fight is just a little bit more worth it. But on the other side, Diego Plays and Ultra. You can see they already got one of those eliminations. They got a huge advantage in this fight. Kanata gets one as well, gets the first down onto one, and now both sides have a little bit of a lead here.
That's right, Diego winning his fight. Kanata and Sphinx initiating. It's Kanata who, of course, gets that first elimination. What a way to kick this one off. And you know what? The best thing that they can do is actually dominate this drop. Really show the other duo, hey, if you stick around here, you won't stand a chance against us. But we all know being contested for any professional duo is tough to turn into a victory royale. The stats usually say it's harder, right? And rightfully so.
Yeah, it's definitely never easy. You just got to be able to kind of take those opportunities, just like Kanata and Sphinx, kind of winning the drop and be able to run with it, turn it into a win, because nothing is guaranteed. These Chris and Drew find themselves in a little bit of a tough spot here over towards Lifty Lodge. Chris and Drew is a team that at moments have captured the community. Are they next up? But they've run into struggles and back-to-back heat lobbies. Hopefully he can keep himself alive, get them back into the game. It's just he's being put behind the pacing here of the rest of the lobby.
Most definitely. Well, enjoying things here at the Sanctuary for now. Magma Void do, again, have that elimination lead at the moment, but just opting to kind of hang out here, take advantage of controlling the majority of the drop right now. Things are coming together very well for them. So far, this game's off to a pretty hot start. We, of course, saw when you came into the drop map, there were fairly several teams looking to contest one another. And already those fights are ending. Jumping to Virgo and Shadow, a team that no one expected to be here. What I really love about this duo here is the support coming out from Nikov and, of course, the French community as they are cheering on for the M8 brother. But look at this here. Back to the coast we go.
Yeah, you're seeing just kind of a lot of contested fights here early on, kind of stall out. It kind of gives you a little bit of deja vu of game one. If either one of those heat stages kind of shows what's on the line, where eliminations really don't mean much, other than maybe you get some surge, a little bit more of a loadout as Maji goes in for a sneak attack, boxes him up. Sometimes that patience actually does pay off for Blue and Maji, the contested fight that they turned their way perfectly with that first elimination. But the thing is here, Monster, Flo actually has the key card to the vault underneath Cluster Coast. So if he disengages, he has a chance to get the reboot card, get his teammate back in the game, and then maybe later on revisit Cluster Coast for a huge reboost back in the game.
Yeah, definitely will be a play in the horse back pocket, but Flurry here finishing up the opponents. Very nicely done. So they're starting to add up those elims there. Money making for 9. Still on here with the moneymaker F9. Okay, so they're just setting up this huge base here, the surge tower, if you will, on top of the mini machine. Do like that. They have nice, clear lines of sights on all the opponents here.
Then you kind of add in the fact that the mending machine down below them, teams do tend to lurk in that direction of mending machines. Maybe they'll be scared away of the big surge base there. Either way, Moneymaker and F9 setting themselves up for a decently good game here as long as the surge allows in the zone pulls. Sinister strip. We thought they would be contested. Whether they were or not, it seems like they either went their separate ways or Bucky and Cam are easily able to position themselves up on top of Sinister Strip. Again, another one of those positions where depending on where the zone goes, whether it pulls far away or pulls to them, all they have to do is be patient here because Surge, I think those opportunities will naturally present themselves where they're at.
Yeah, definitely. Jumping over to Brennan and Jordan. I love that after they showed us that they can make high ground and the heats, now we're like, all right, let's tune in a little early. Let's see what the strategy is looking like. Of course, part of it is not only maxing out material counts to start to prepare, but it's also getting the extra heals, right? To really go the distance you start playing the Storm.
Yeah, whether it's the small fry, actual floppers, or slurpfish there, anything for this type of strategy is definitely going to work on it. And I kind of like what they're doing here too. Instead of kind of doing it on the outskirts of Wonky Land, on the outskirts of Latte Landing, they're trying to minimize the amount of early game damage that they're going to take because they haven't even started their base project yet. They are going to spend a lot of time inside of the zone, so you want to minimize that storm sickness risk there and now. And I think that's going to be a good preemptive opportunity. This double pump seems to be in a little bit of a struggle over towards Golden Grove. Another team towards the outskirts, so you definitely have to be careful with how long this one goes.
Yeah, this one right here is a pretty tough fight to try to initiate, but see ZXZ doing a good job getting that first knock there. Not too sure where the opponent went, so you can see him sort of hesitating not to get snuck up on, but the enemy's right under the ramp here next to her. Just looking on by. He ends up finding out, and Pluto gets one pump there. Well played. So they wrap things up here.
Just from one side, you can literally see just kind of the struggles of some of these contested fights or the fights around the map that kind of have a decent amount of metal, that have the mending machine in terms of Golden Grove, and then the whole other side of the map where G-Money and Scare get uncontested Calamari Canyon. And this mountain here is where I feel like 90% or so of the teams that do land Calamari Canyon, uncontested or not, do start to base up. It is right above one of those mending machines, and it is in a prime location where all teams around you are going to have to rotate. So the possibility of Storm Surge tags is definitely going to be high. And then it obviously does help that it's basically in the center of zone.
Yeah, this go around here, I mean, the map is surely giving us a lot of activity in this general area. Not bad for, of course, pulling the zone. Scare, G-Money, a team that we're, of course, looking highly towards as far as their performance here today. Again, all that matters is winning the game here. Consistency won't get you anywhere. Jasper is on the other side. Forced to disengage here. None of these fights are worth really anything, right? If you think about it, as long as you get your surge damage, it's very much worth getting on out of there.
Yeah, and so I do like the decision, Isaac. You know, just not necessarily chase. They have everything they need there. Mending machine, metal, launch pads up top. Not necessarily getting greedy for a singular elimination, which we have seen throughout the weekend so far, letting your emotions get the best of you in certain situations, which in turn cost qualification spots. Maji and Blue staying alive over towards the Cluster Coast. Remember, The initial elimination that they were able to get, Flo had went down. That is the guy with the actual key card for Cluster Coast. And I think Blue and Maji are just saying, hey, they have to return eventually, right?
Yeah, it's pretty tough move on their part to just go ahead and sit on the card. But it is what it is. No harm, no foul. Sinetto, Saifta, after a pretty strong early game showings and their heats, you know, we got to celebrate their abilities. They found themselves still here. Wasn't able to pull through in those final games. Jump into the battle, though. This is back into the storm we go. They have Carr. They have Crazy on the low ground right now. Wallahi, Chase up top. They're in full control here. Doesn't seem like they want to do anything rash, trying to wait out the opponents down low. The opponents down low actually starting to run out of meds here, so the clock is ticking.
Yeah, this is not an opportunity for Crazy and Exile you want to let go to waste. They kind of let that Heat's opportunity kind of fly by as Maji and Blue, they do drop down, are able to get the elimination on the Rocat, but again, that's not the initial guy that they're looking for. Flo has returned back on over to the Cluster Coast. It's a matter of what meds he does have on him, what gold he has on him, if he does not have that reboot card yet, but he's definitely putting himself in a weird predicament here, because if he goes down to Blue and Maji, they get what they came for.
Yeah, you see him right there, just kind of waiting this one out, trying to heal. Again, luckily the visuals of those heals didn't go through, but Maji and team haven't even fully looted the rest of this drop either. They really were adamant on sitting by, trying to wait out the opponent there, but either way, Flo's still in the game. There goes the tossing of the med kit, so we're going to be looking to disengage here shortly, I believe. On the other side, Ultra, Diego, kind of hiding out here, pinched in between the two players, but they're way ahead as far as damage is concerned. They surely have won the early fight here. Now finding Ghoul on the outside, though. Bad Shockwave's going to send Ultra by himself. He's got the side angle. In the end, it might work out as Diego flushes him out. Nice little find there. The Siphon, they didn't need, but you'll welcome all the material count they pick up here.
Now I feel like state of the game, depending on where you drop, if you're just kind of stuck on the outskirts, you kind of get stuck out of position, especially if there's early damage there. As City and Daze just get the elimination, that's going to be 2. Gotta imagine just a little bit of that shield missing from City, so maybe not taking too much damage there in that fight. Gotta be helping that Storm Surge as well. And I think that's gonna be a real key to unlock kind of a lot of freedom in this lobby, where you don't have to take that risk, go box to box, especially as this game proves to go later and later. Right now, there is a lot of space where you can take some of those fights, but once we get in the 5th zone, 6th zone, that's where it becomes a lot more risky.
Yeah, am I crazy to think that with how fast teams are getting eliminated right now, like this is just going to work for Brennan and Jordan? Like, am I bugging out by thinking that? Because less people in the storm, more teams looking away, essentially, you know? Is more chance for them to actually get situated, have a little RNG land on their side, but only time will tell here.
Well, I feel like, I was about to say as your resident Skybase aficionado, but as we jump on board Kanata and Sphinx, I think there's a little bit more important things to talk about. You see the loadout here. Purple shotgun, Warforged AR, full and max minis, or I should say big pots and chugs with some extras as well. You can kind of see where the zone was kind of pulling before this. They're kind of relatively towards the center. So even though they're not necessarily elevated as high as you see G Money and Scare in the distance, they know multiple teams are going to have to rotate to them. And while others are going to have to worry about those sky bases, they are not, because they're already going to rotate out.
Yeah, we're really starting to see the thinning of the herd. A lot of good teams starting to pop up here and now. Sphinx and Kanata, of course, making the clean rotate right now, but they're moving right into some pretty serious gamers. You got Void, you got Magma, you saw F9 there kind of positioned up. Here's the opposite angle of other teams moving in. Storm, of course, already opting to start doing that 2-tick of damage, so this is where things start getting pretty serious.
Outside of it pulling all the way towards the south, this could be a decent pull for Brennan and Jordan, as long as they're quick to the hurry and have enough mats. Because there are a lot of mountain ranges that teams are going to have to bypass to go. Flurry bacon, egg, and peas. Might be getting a little hungry after that one, but 700 damage above the threshold. They have to be eating pretty well here in this game. Max chug jugs. They got med kits for when they make it in towards the zone. They just got to be able to dodge some of this damage, but even if they do take shots like you saw there, it's not really going to affect them too much up until now, where Diego and Ultra actually catch one of them out of position.
Feeling super good about that shield crack right there. They're going to take full advantage, look for the refresh right now. Meanwhile, Northern, Calipper on the move here, 137 damage above the threshold. Still have maximum shockwaves as well. The zone will be landing right on top of them, so they're just trying to hold this key positioning here while the storm slowly moves in. There they go, hugging up there to the outer edge. Maji Blue managed to find themselves into a safe spot. This is all in all looking pretty decent for the teams down here. But there's a lot going on, right? You see Northern, of course, has that elimination. It was picked up in the storm as they were rotating. Makes sense now why they would have wanted to kind of stay up here, right? Absorb that material and base up around it.
Yeah, you never know where the zone is going to go, and it kind of helps a lot that Siphon, that way you can save that med kit for later. Kicks Zemo, only 38 above the damage threshold. At least they're above that damage threshold, though. There's going to be the positive. Just no bad peaks here in this situation. Even though they're above this threshold now, though, Monster, they're going to have to look for Surge in the next one. They will fall below as that threshold changes. It's just a matter about how you handle that pressure, and that's where I always think preemptive strikes may be the best for that scenario instead of just simply trying to out-heal it. And now with that, they are full healed up. They're going to have open windows here of opportunity to try to get some damage.
Yeah, Zemon kicks only 29 above the damage right now. Threshold is starting to go back and forth here, so I'm actually surprised they don't take the opportunity here to shoot the team that had the open edit right there. That might prove to be a misplay. We'll end up seeing how their damage fares in the coming moments. Chance, Madden on the other side, a very skilled duo. Again, there are teams that we very much recognize that have made multiple finals. They are the scary ones to look out for. Kanata Sphinx, they're in the distance, starting to set up. Kanata finding himself with a lack of shield, using the first of his few big pots here.
Yeah, you can already see only 119 above the damage threshold. That number's going to move around just a little bit depending on the activity of the rest of the lobby. But he knows that's not a super comfortable feeling. That's why he's looking all the way towards the back. Kipfi's going to get a couple shots landed on him, 300 above. And that's the plan here for Kanata and Sphinx. It's not necessarily get elims, get a refresh by any means. It's more so get above the damage threshold. So that way, if it does pull far away, they're prepared with that shockwave, but they get gifted.
Zone.
The zone pulls to them. That's going to allow them to kind of save some of those resources.
Save resources. They already have the bird's eye view on the lobby. This is looking really good for our Sphinx and Kanata fans right now. They're at their eliminations as well, so starting to pressure up the lobby just a bit here, but again, they will need a little bit more damage if they want to get absolutely comfortable. Getting hit by Surge would be devastating to the strategy here. We already know, Jacob, we're expecting other teams to go flying for high ground. Talking about teams that are below, though, Osid, Mero find themselves in a bit of trouble here.
One of those bad beats against Shadow and Virgo, both peaking at the same time, but Miro goes back for seconds, gets him right back above the damage threshold, which is very important because that is active Surge, 25 damage every 7 seconds. And they know they're going to have to use one of those shockwaves to rotate to the next zone, so they're going to leave themselves open to taking damage. So that's why it's important here and now to try to put them above that damage threshold, but they're still flirting with that line, 17 below. This is not where you want to be on the rotation.
On the right side, 17 below still. Cam and Bucky, though, playing for a pickup here. Cam somehow is going to find a miracle save here, so Bucky and Cam's opportunities might still be in. Oh, no, they ended up being targeted there. Mero just putting in big work on the other side, though, keeping himself in the game now. Bucky is down, though. Cam left to play this one out. As a solo, someone jumps in Cam's bots. Off he runs. This might be the run for them.
Yeah, scrambles around, just finds himself just a little nook and cranny to call himself safe there. But he knows he has to kind of push back on out. Zone is going to force him just kind of out of position just a little bit. With more and more opportunity for players to move in his direction, you can kind of see him lurking around, thinking of getting a possible elimination here might be the right play. 82 builds. Remember, the win is the only thing that matters. It's Virgo and Shadow. We saw them deal damage to Miro early on, but they're now in a bad spot. Luckily for them, Virgo able to find that one key elimination that might bring him back in the game.
Huge elimination right there. Extra material counts. I mean, that ends up capping them out there. So Virgo and Shadow finding themselves somewhat in a tough spot, but at least they bounce back with an insane elimination there. Looking at things from the high ground, though, Kanata and Sphinx still maintaining their dominance here. They're playing it like professionals as well. Look at that, going base to base here, front side shockwaving. I mean, this is what you expect of a very skilled duo to execute like. Meanwhile, everyone else still busy, but Virgo and Shadow eyeing up second ground. Aloe and Listen doing in the same as well. The good teams are floating towards the top already.
Yeah, and this is one of those situations for Kanata and Sphinx. You invested so much up into this point. That's why they're taking a lot of the focus, the second high teams. The pre-chop comes in, but that's Kanata and Sphinx chopping their own builds, giving less and less space for anybody to try to attach onto as Ultra and Diego end up in a struggle. Ultra's going to go down. Spray coming from all directions. Diego has nowhere to go until he eventually gets shut down, but the flank comes in. But a bad shockwave. Aloe accidentally shockwaves his teammate off as he goes for high ground.
That's the panic of making a fast play without your teammate being in the best position possible. Aloe's thinking twice about it. He's still trying to maintain things, though, here. I'm assuming Listen's got his own shocks, but this is a tough spot to be in either way. He still has material to take this fight, but Sphinx commits to it. Listen comes from outside the storm, and Jacob, just like we called it, it looks like the battle is in hands of Sphinx right now.
Yeah, you got one up above, one down below. Sphinx and Kanata taking two different angles, leave him open to a 1v2 for a short moment. Sphinx knows it. He gives up the high ground to Listen and his duo here. This could be a good moment for him and Aloe to try to take control of this game. It all depends on how much they invested, but he drops down. Kanata and Sphinx realize the solo opportunity, and they take it. Down goes Aloe, but just in time, Kanata and Sphinx, they're getting sprayed through the box. Damage is bleeding through. They have to figure out a way to get back up.
That was an insane edit by Kanata to actually save his teammate there. Listen is so healthy at the moment. He's eyeing them up. He sees exactly where they're at, but he gives them a brief moment to get through. Meanwhile, Kanata, healthy, wins another clutch engagement, and he's just going back to back with it. And now they managed to re-control the situation here. They are back in business, but as one falls, another comes up. Bizzo now cranks to the high ground. He's only got a few mats to work with. It's not enough to maintain, so Kanata's just looking to flex up here.
Yeah, they put themselves in an all-or-nothing situation here because of how long they were fighting, though, on the other side. Kanata and Sphinx have no choice but to give it up, but more and more teams are joining the party. Madden and Chance. This is the team that lands on the north side of the map. A new team to the LCL. They weren't even playing together in heats, but they're making these little moments matter, just like Kanata and Sphinx. Forced down below. No extra build. Zone is on their back. They can feel the heat of the lobby right now, but they get at least one knock. Can they go back to back? No, they can't.
They tried, and they tried, but in the end, they end up falling. I'm looking at the high ground, of course, an experienced team, but on the ultimate low, you see Shadow, Virgo, F9, Moneymaker now trying to find their footing here. It's quiet for some teams. For others, they're in the absolute blender here now. Virgo and Shadow starting to turn online here. 3 eliminations for them. This is getting interesting.
Yeah, we've seen 4 or 5 teams, maybe even more, send it up for the high ground, invest everything. That's giving Shadow
Scares
and
going
Virgo.
up.
That's giving Moneymaker a chance, and another team, but another questionable shockwave here. But Madden's going to go down nonetheless to the zone. Scare is going to get credit for that one, but he is going to fall. Can this revive come through? They are on high ground. They have extra chugs, but is timing on their side.
He ends up sticking it. Meanwhile, Virgo sees the opportunity, goes for it. Shadow lost in the process, and this is all up to Virgo now. The 4th elimination, the refresh comes through, finds a small win condition right there. It's F9 and Moneymaker on the low ground. Virgo up top. It's a 2v1 situation. Meanwhile, F9, no material counts, goes to the shockwave. His teammate tries to break him up. Up he goes. They're both on top of him, but Virgo putting up an excellent defense right now. And then the follow-up, he tries to go around, and the Storm's gonna do so much. Can he get the last shot? And he does win the game. My gosh.
Cannot believe what we're witnessing here. This is the last chance. this lobby, right? We're not even in the grand finals yet. Shadow and Virgo, as a solo, he clutches it up to take down Moneymaker and F9. K1 is already heating up, Zeke.
Vivid! Vivid! It's happening! Ah! It's Shadow Virgo. Vivid, they did it. Oh my god. Oh, Shadow and Virgo, Vivid. Ah!
I mean, listen, who would have thought any different? I mean, listen, Shadow and Virgo. Actually, we got to put a giant exclamation point on Virgo himself. I mean, this guy proved how good he is mechanically at the Summit land and instantly here in the last chance lobby. Unfortunately for these guys, they were kind of pushed to this last chance lobby, but as soon as they kind of force themselves into this specific lobby, they're like, listen, guys, we can win a game here. Do not worry about us. On the back foot of Virgo with an incredible 1v2 against the Moneymaker and F9 nonetheless. Oh my gosh, Kelly, this is why this guy was receiving so much hype at Summit.
And they played that so well. There was so much pandemonium going on the high ground, so many teams switching hands. And then when those teams failed, you know, they dropped to the low ground and then there's more chaos there. Shadow and Virgo, at least from the moments that I got to watch them play, were kind of just sticking to the mid ground. We've seen them go on these heavy elimination games. And for this end game, they weren't necessarily going for these crazy heavy elimination games. 3 elims for Virgo is relatively low. And that's what he knew he needed to do for this end game. Watching for that perfect moment. He knew that Madden was down. Chance was going to go for the revive, or I'm sorry, Chance was trying to get revived. And so Virgo took that chance, saw that it was happening, able to get the punishment on them, and then to handle the 1v2. My goodness, Zeke, this is just game number 1.
The 180 there. Oh my gosh, that was crazy. I cannot believe it. I promise you right now, Shadow is going crazy. He's like, dude, Virgo, we are going to finals. Obviously, you know what? We're just going to say they didn't even worry about it. They just wanted just one more game, Vivid. They wanted one more game of practice before final.
Listen, I don't think they're happy that they got one more game of practice. Now they made it to the finals, but they definitely did not want one more game of practice.
It's fair. It's fair. We are big Shadow Virgo fans on this broadcast, and we will forever be big fans of them. For now, a break. When we return, though, we'll have to talk more about game number 2 because 4 more VRs is all we have left. We'll see you soon.
I got here. I'm popping in med bit. Wait, short. Got 6 builds? No, max up. Wait, if you're med, wait. 100! 100! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Milk can help you grow. Milk can't prevent your ride from blasting into space.
Fortnite fam? Welcome back to the last chance lobby. Me and Viv, after on that break, we were celebrating. We were high-fiving each other. We were jumping. We were screaming like Shadow Virgo, game 1. They're going to finals. But we still have 4 games left to go, which Kelly's got, you know, that pressure's starting to mount. My nervousness is starting to mount as well. Only 4 games left to go, and only the victory royale matters. There's still some big names out here that they need these VRs, Kelly. They need these VRs.
Yeah, 100%. And I think at the start of the end of that game, we kind of thought that maybe it was Kanata and Sphinx that were going to be kind of walking away with it. As far as high ground, they took it around zone 9 and held on to it for quite a while. But we do know that if you pull height that early, I say zone 9, this is zone 7, and it already looks like they have an early height. When you hold it this high, and especially when it looks like they already have minimal mats just by zone A, and it looks like so many people are already pushing to steal height, it was an inevitability that they were going to have to drop it, and they relatively successfully defended it and even dropped it again. But once you just take so much damage, Vivid, you lose so much material and so many heals, it's hard to recover.
So here's the thing that worries me a little bit about Kanata and Sphinx. I feel like a lot of people at home would look at this and be like, oh, wow, like Kanata and Sphinx are doing great. They're kind of claiming the early high ground. I don't like it at all, because we know exactly how these games are kind of going to play out. And we got a little bit of a sneak peek at it in this specific game where, you know, yeah, we saw Kanata and Sphinx are up on the high ground. But how many teams did they have to keep fighting that are just going to keep overdrive grenading up? Because teams are just going to keep coming, because the only thing that they want to play for is the win, which is why we saw towards the later half of that game, right, when we got all the way to zone 12, our 2 healthiest teams were actually on the low ground, right? We saw Moneymaker and F9, who were in a great position to actually win the game, and then also Shadow and Virgo, a team that was also very, very healthy. 2 teams that didn't go for that win con that Fortnite is kind of known for, because so many teams are going for it. I don't know if it's going to be sustainable. So it's great that Kanata and Sphinx can kind of get that high ground, perhaps just a little bit too early. So I hope they kind of look to maybe play a little bit differently going into some of these following games, because I feel like that might be the best bet.
It's fine, right? They've got 4. They got 4 chances. That's like,
It's fine.
3 more chances than they need. You know what I'm saying? It's everything's fine. You did mention Moneymaker and Fanayan there as well. You know, another duo that they were looking pretty good, right? Taking it all the way to that 1v2 situation. Unfortunately, didn't quite work out in that favor, or in their favor rather, but they are currently looking like they're firing on all cylinders, making it up all the way there, Kelly. At that point, you're kind of, you know, leaning into like, hey, do you have what it takes to win? Getting there, they've proven they can do after 1 game. If they get there again, I gotta feel like they've got to be able to push that, right?
Well, somewhat of a reflection of Virgo as well earlier. You say they're firing on all cylinders, but all the way to zone 12, they had 0 eliminations. So unless they're like a 2-cylinder car, I don't know how many cylinders they're running. But again, that is the meta that is within the LCL. You have to be passive. You can't take these crazy engagements and have these, you know, double-digit elimination games. So to see Moneymaker and F9 just play this passive on the low ground game, and to be able to do that without having to worry about Storm Vivid, is definitely what a lot of other players are going to be looking to do in these next 4 games as well.
I mean, Moneymaker and Fine just played game number 1 so well. If they can do that exact same thing again, kind of get themselves in a situation to where they're on the low ground, a healthy duo, then yeah, their chances to go ahead and win for sure go up. Let's go ahead and talk about one of those other teams that is kind of sending the high ground right now, right? Madden and Chance were kind of up there, kind of overdriving up, getting themselves into the mix, and these type of play styles, like sometimes they work out if you are kind of timing it very, very well. If you take a look at their position, right, they're on the high ground, they've got the weaponry, they got some of the, you know, resources to go ahead and win this one out. But again, kind of getting a taste of their own medicine. When they kind of look up, there's a team above them that just does so much damage, and we kind of saw it right there again. Scare starts to go up as well. So even Madden and Chance kind of taking the late opportunity, what was it, in like zone 11, maybe zone 12, again, they get themselves put into a situation that even though they took it late, it still feels like too early. Like maybe high ground is just not sustainable from any point in the game, but exciting to kind of see them gain control over it for at least a little bit of time. Look for these guys to go ahead and probably send high ground again.
You have to wonder, in that moment for the revive, it definitely made them vulnerable. I wonder if maybe he just went to kind of hold high ground, would have been a different story. But regardless, to do that and even pull it off was pretty impressive. So they're looking good after game number 1, and I can expect more good things coming in out of the following games.
Yeah, props for sure, right? That's a very risky play, but again, Kelly used the word earlier, pandemonium. That's what the LCL is all about. So let's see if another duo can find a calm in that storm. Game number 2 is ready. So let's jump back on that battle bus.
You know, Zeke, I might be calm now. I might be calm as we stand, but let these games continue in that same trajectory. I cannot say the same thing later on in the day. But what Vivid's basically saying is let Game 1 Monster be a wake-up call to anybody that looks towards high ground.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we got a sample of what it's going to take. And more importantly, grabbing it early was working until you eased up the pressure. Once the other team saw an opportunity, bam, the shockwaves came up, and it was just a matter of time there, Jacob.
Yeah, and so you just really got to be careful. You take it too early, you got to expect team after team to use those shockwaves to send it towards high ground. So you really have to have that mental math in your mind. How many materials is worth this first fight? How much do I invest? Because if I know anything and Game 1 showed anything, that more and more teams will continue to send it. We're going to see that here because Game 2 is ready. So let's jump right into it.
Judging by those last few performances there, I mean, a few teams were popping off and definitely had my attention. I was looking at Scare G Money's performance. You saw Cam and Bucky nearly go the distance there. And then, of course, the biggest upsets are going to land for Kanata and Sphinx. You know, even though they're contested at the drop, they had a good time last time around, you know, keying the opponents here. So I think that's going to be a surge of confidence. But coming up as short as they did, man, that's going to be a setback too.
Especially since they were one of those teams on the high ground trying to hold it, but you just invest so much, whether you're taking it early or team after team looking to kind of fight them off. And now they have to do it yet again with the same circumstances. Contested drop, half the loot from Frosted Flats being stolen away. As we go back on over towards Latte landing again, we know this one kind of starts off a little slow between the teams that do land here, one side for each of them, and then they kind of go from there. But it looks like this time around, Ultra and Diego plays have Latte landing relatively uncontested.
Yeah, this is definitely going to work out well for them. You know, they managed to, of course, kind of have a bit of a showing there towards the end, but still need a little bit more to push it across the finish line. Cole, Ruins on the other side, just trying to go ahead and win their wonky land battle here. So far, so good for them. Comes a Shockwave pushing across. Was really going for it here. He didn't even take the time to farm up extra material at all. Just really trying to take the fight here while this player is so low and gets crushed with a monster shot. There goes the upgrade to the striker now. And Light's feeling it here.
Yeah, I was going to say this is possibly a winnable situation, but another team rotates on over. Just a quick beam from the first. It's another shot before eventually going down to Ruins. Again, we talked about Madden and Chance. This is the other half. This is Cole, who played with Madden for so long. They went to the summit, and they just didn't kind of get what they wanted to get out of that land. And now they're here, new team with Ruins, and have an opportunity winning off spawn.
Have it again from Kanata's perspective. They end up winning their first fight at the flats. That's the initial hurdle for them. From there, it's a slow walk to the end game. Bucky, Cam already rotating, but let's get back to just wrap up this fight here. Kanata, once again, wins the shots, hits what he needed. This was the Kanata we were missing in the heats, but right now he seems to be fired up.
Just a quick win there as Bucky Cam left Sinister Strip to go ahead and grab that Warforged Mythic AR. And that's going to help them a lot in a fight like this, being able to burn through the other team's materials. Cam needs to be careful not to get caught off guard as Bucky continues to go to work on the whole other angle. So we did try to peek to land a sneaky shot, but not going to be able to land it up until now. Damien trying to go ahead and push Bucky back, which kind of brings it into a relatively fair fight. Bucky Cam with a little bit of damage. One of them taking all the damage while Damien is full HP and shield.
Yeah, they seem to be kind of losing the plot here as Damien and Snowy are putting up a good counter fight, but all sides are out of material, running low on the builds now as well. It seems like the disengage is at play for Bucky and Cam. This might not be the worst opportunity either for them to go ahead and get back onto the material route. Also, look at Bucky's overall ammo. Definitely looking light.
Yeah, you can kind of see what they prioritize for the most part, getting their hands on the Warforged, and they can kind of fill out their loadout later. It's going to be a good situation for them because Sinister is so big to split. Diego, Ultra, even though they're uncontested, they're not straying away from this fight. They know this team is kind of lurking at the top of the mountain. Instead of letting them get free tags, them kind of build up their surge while taking away from you, they try to go ahead and turn the tables. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like they found what they wanted. The shockwave back in the direction of Latte landing, which isn't necessarily a bad thing either. They got all the time in the world. The zone very, very early on is telling that it's going to pull towards the north.
North zone will be welcome for some. Let's take a look. On over to F9 and Moneymaker. You know, another team that just surprised me. They showed up in the end game and they pulled a very much Shadow and Virgo-like strategy. They were pretty quiet, just trying to avoid any fights there in the end game, but after their hand was forced, you know, everything broke loose there. Jumping to the other side though, Magma, Void already picking up another elimination, so things are moving very fast from here. We're on pace, sort of like the last game, like how many teams are already eliminated here. Things are flying by.
Man, just like feels like just like heat stages, you know, Sinister Strip becoming a home for so many. The amount of materials you could farm there, different kinds. Mainly, you're gonna be your hard mats, the Scare and G Money. Not too far away from Calamari, not too far away from the mountain we know they box up on. They get that back-to-back eliminations here. Probably dropping that whole team back onto the lobby. At least they have 3 more games left and 3 more golden opportunities. But for Scare and G Money, just a shockwave really cost them a lot. We saw Scare essentially ruin the whole team's journey on high ground in that last game, which made it a little bit easier for Virgo to make that clutch happen.
Yeah, I think they would have had it otherwise. You know, having a strong duo up on height, there's no way that anyone else should have been able to dethrone them. Scare, G Money, of course, are going to be a team to keep an eye on, as we are with Brennan and Jordan, seeing how things are going for them. We're just waiting for this team to really get things to align for them. They only need one opportunity, and we'll see them up top, pushing their way towards endgame.
Just thinking right now, what would be the strategy for some of the Skyberry? Because they're looking over towards Wonky Land. And the thing about Wonky Land is for not just this season, but last season as well, you know, teams do stay up towards that wheel. They get early game surge, and they kind of let other teams kind of bypass them in a zone just like this, and they kind of late rotate with the shockwave and the wonky wheel effect. So that's what Brennan and Jordan have in the back of their mind. They're trying to be very, very careful, calculated, continuously looking off in that direction. But little do they know, it's Cole and Ruins inside of Wonky Land, continuously lurking around, not necessarily in the base above.
Yeah, they're pretty far out there too. Like, they're trying to find themselves a position to go ahead and set up their strategy here, if you will. Oh, look at that map knowledge, though. Knowing exactly where to go here, but Cole, Ruins might have spotted them out. Yep, Jordan's a little cautious here.
They're just on a clock. That's going to be the only unfortunate thing for Jordan and Brennan. They're on a clock. Like, other players get to play with a different kind of feel of flexibility. You have to start your sky base at a certain point, and that point is quickly coming for them, for Cole and Ruins. They don't even know the team is there, which means they're kind of not pressed. They're not scared to take damage. They probably think they're the only ones out here enjoying this theme park. So for Brennan and Jordan, I hope to see them back later in the game, getting some scraps, seeing what they can make of this game. You see Drew and Chris over at Lifty Lodge. We saw them go down early in game number 1. And the contested drops at Lifty Lodge isn't necessarily the easiest thing. You either contest the top mountain or go right underneath. And if you kind of go underneath and split those drops, it just becomes a pain. It becomes drawn out like some of the other fights we've seen today.
Yeah, it always surprises me to see teams fighting here on this outer edge. It seems like such an isolated area, but so many players tend to rotate down here just to kind of take a look at what's going on. Obviously, hit these mending machines on the way past. You can see Flurry just hiding out here while Chris and Drew trying to get their heals situated. Sphinx and Kanata on the other side, keeping active here. This is a bit of a surprise for me, for them to want to continue to engage with teams. I guess they weren't too happy with their surge in the mid game last time, so really trying to push past that threshold. Nice little micro adjustment for them. Meanwhile, we get to jump in with Osid Mero here on the south side, trying to ambush a team as well.
I know for sure Osid landing here almost all chapter long for the most part. Obviously with a little bit of a different duo, G Money instead of Mero, but it just goes to show that there's a ton of familiarity here on this side. And you can see in Sunken Shores, I talked about the mini game, releasing the valve on one side, patching it on the other, which kind of lets you kind of make a wish for 200 gold. Not only do you and your duo get to make that wish, but any other team that has 200 gold and rotates in. So it does become a little bit of a hot spot later on in these games, and that's why you see Mira and Osid potentially returning back, because the probability of having so many different scrap loots or being able to kind of flank and get damage like this is just relatively high.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised Mako and Daze actually saw Osid there. You saw the builds coming out a little prematurely, so I think they had a feeling that someone might have been lurking nearby. There it is. Osid opens with a few tags just to go ahead and give himself a little bit of that lead. Mero doubles back to the house where you saw that med kit. Taking advantage of the free midi while he can. Meanwhile, there's Flix's here, City. On the other side. Ooh, they're right behind Diego and Ultra. Just going to open fire, but doesn't hit the shots and doesn't wait for his teammate either, so might have been a small misplay there. Either way, Diego and Ultra are going to be happy. They don't have to dig into the heroes or slow down.
Yeah, you got to think when a lot of players are VOD reviewing certain situations like this, just little moments like that may not necessarily make or break a game, but compound those same results throughout the course of the game. It definitely kind of puts you in a bad spot. You wonder where their surge is at, how a shot like that would help them later on in the game. You see the zone moving south of Calamari Canyon. So for those that were kind of eager to position up around this area, got to imagine are sitting good. Whether they don't have a lot of surge now, the opportunity is going to be there as soon as the rest of the teams in the north and the eastern side of the map start to rotate in.
Soneto, Zypta getting the first warnings here. Looking really decent on the overall damage at the moment. Zone's pretty much right on top of them. We're going back to the canyon here this go around.
This is where it gets a little bit more stacked. This edge of the map, you've seen teams on high ground, teams on low. Others by the vending machine. It's all on the eastern edge where more and more teams are going to have to slowly but surely begin to rotate in. Kanata and Sphinx, you see the Mythic in their inventory. 19th in their heat, just kind of outside of that bubble consistency. 11th place in the last chance qualifier to make it here into this last chance lobby. Just got to be able to win one of these 5 games today. Just like Civ and Hari's. Even though they're below the damage threshold, they do have some extra heals to try to pick themselves back up, and they have Pluto on the run.
Yeah, even with 2 elims right now, they seem to be struggling here and now. Teammate down, barely making it to the storm. Not much to work with for Civ and Hari's. It's cost them a fair bit, but clearly they are much more and ahead. Storm now jumping into 2-tick territory. Do notice they don't have extra whites to work with. They have to go fast and now. There's Pluto, kind of keeping an eye out here. Civ wastes no time, playing very, very safe here on the rotated. Just gathered the attention of the lobby, though. This is more personal for Pluto here.
And I do like that little peek from Pluto. Immediately, Hari's and Civ make it in towards zone. He already has 2 full boxes built, and he tries to put out pressure, saying, essentially, don't look in my direction. If you peek, it's going to be a risk. While they're safe on one side, G-Money and Skate are running into a little bit of troubles on the other. They're going to be 300 or so above the damage threshold, but G-Money gets his shields cracked just like that. A couple more moves in that same direction is going to be hard for them as we get an update on my favorite team in the lobby, using somebody else's surge base to start their own sky base. You know what they say, you know, one man's trash is another man's treasure. This could be the treasure they're looking for.
Think about this. This is like just insane to me, the way that they have such a sound strategy. They know exactly when to kind of take off. They ride it out all the way to the 2-tick.
Oh,
and the way they use the boots to glide and get in so fast. I mean, it's just impressive, right?
Okay, so I might be out of date. I may be As not of aficionados, I forgot about the sliders being utilized in these situations.
Not ready.
And
You're not
honestly, this
ready.
is looking good. They make it to the edge of zone. They know it's going to open up a little bit more, and that's why they switch from the floors to the walls. Because when a team looks up, you can really see a lot of those floors being paced out. When you build a wall and then you edit the top 3 tiles, it's just a little bit sliver of a build. If you don't have kind of the right eyes, you don't look up at the right time, or you even have a clear field of view, you're not necessarily going to see them. And it's just hopefully they can make this one work, because we saw them close and now they're taking active surge. No.
Well, here's the thing, right? If they're gonna survive, they can't both stay alive. Like that doesn't make sense. So someone's gonna sacrifice themselves here. Surely they have to, like they need to. But if one of them falls, do they build a floor to like catch all the loot? I don't know. I don't see it, but we'll have to keep a close eye on it. It looks like Jordan's going to be the first to likely sacrifice himself here. They're trying to wait this one out. Brennan's going to be the one med-kitting up. Well, they're both going to try to stay in. Feeling pretty confident. This is crazy, Jacob.
Might be a little bit too early, but Jordan's like, bro, I got you. On the other side, while one team's just probably having the time of their life, down below, you see one going down. Lalu just kind of fighting for everything that he has, gets another shockwave, the siphon materials. He has a lot of builds to protect himself once he gets there. It's about closing the gap, and that's why he's digging into his chug jugs. 100 plus below the damage threshold. Not only is he taking Storm, he's taking Storm Surge ticks.
You're watching the left. I'm still staring at the right. They ended up above Jordan and Brennan there. Lolo's going to fall. And Jordan and Brennan are above the surge by 40. They are one team ahead somehow, just barely above the pack. Well, if they can manage to make it to the end, everyone's going to be distracted down low. Let's take a look at what else is happening here on the map. Moneymaker for 9. Above the surge, finding a way, rotating through. He gets caught up by Harry's, but he finishes him off with a monster shot there. Well played for them. Bucky Cam starting to position up for a little bit of the high ground lurk. They're eyeing things up. They didn't quite pull the zone. No one did, in fact, but they are going to be one of the first to rotate to it. Miro Osid on the opposite end of the spectrum here. Have to go all the way through. Tough rotate to make, but they're off.
Yeah, literally one of the farthest pulls in this lobby for Miro. That's why he's quick to the punch. Ultra, Diego, they have to rotate, but they're also worried about their lack of materials and barely being above that damage threshold. They're trying to get something before they go, and that is definitely something for sure. It may not be maximum material by any means, but it's way better than they were just at. And now they got to find their way out as Diego goes down. Ultra's now by himself. Diego's the one with a lot of experience. If somehow Ultra wins this game, this could be his first FNCS Grand Finals appearance.
Yeah, definitely. Well, looking at what Ultra's doing here, he's popping off, but now he's 66 below the threshold there. A lot of teams rotating across. This is what happens when no one pulls the zone. Everyone's forced to kind of hop on over and the fights break out. If you're sitting up top with some visuals on this, you're feeling pretty good about the activity happening right now, but the surge is still very much active here. Meanwhile, Moneymaker for 9 trying to fight for a little bit more territory. He gets hit with a huge shot. They're seeing that damage number fluctuate back and forth, so you know pressure's going to start setting in here. Osid, I was looking at for a second there at the front side of zone. Meanwhile, Kanata Sphinx still thinking about going for high ground this time, though. You don't want to commit too early. They're going for the material split. I wonder if they want to go for the refresh first and then set up, or if they're just going to full commit now.
Yeah, I think right now they realize just too early in game number 1. Let's continue to play this game now, especially with how many teams sent it towards the high ground, but they finally got found out. It's very hard to hit those half walls, so I'm not sure the amount of time they're going to have to be able to look up, but 200 below the damage threshold, 2 extra medkits in the inventory. He's in desperate need of a little bit more action down below. 5 players need to fall, then he'll be safe. I'm not even sure he's taking
Doesn't make it. He doesn't make it.
Yes,
Oh,
he
he
does.
does.
Oh my God, dreams. We're hoping they do come true. And right now, Baron is just facing a nightmare.
Brennan tried. He tried his best. He made it far, but not far enough. In the end, we jump back into the action here with Bucky and Cam. Bucky and Cam might have been the team that actually spotted him up there as they were trying to eye up what's going on high ground. Take a look at this. They have actually a pretty exceptional loadout. Double mythics here to work with, so Cam's got the firepower. Don't have really the material count, though. This is a tough spot to be in.
Definitely is for them, and this is probably why you see Moneymaker and Fnai probably and even Kanata and Sphinx trying to dominate these mid and low layers. They don't want to have to expend all their materials for a chance at high ground, so they're staying in the middle, just trying to get eliminations, pick up the mats when they can, even jumping forward. We're going to end up going up and over a little bit of a mountain, so for Bucky and Cam, this is perfect scenario as long as they have the builds or can clean up an elimination here. Right now, they're trying to push onto Cole, who seems to be by himself, but they're going to have to abandon ship. It's too risky with more and more teams shockwaving their direction.
So many teams playing second high right now. Like, there is just a lot going on here. Bucky, of course, has the right idea, but everyone wants a piece of the action happening up top. There it is. Cam finally caught out there to the hands of Madden there. Chance goes up for the high ground. He tries to take advantage. The monster shot comes out on both sides, but in the end, it's Chance and Madden who take down Bucky there, and now they're the ones on top.
Yeah, just that big shot there's and the siphon for him going into zone and getting the material is going to cost him just a little bit, but Moneymaker finds himself by himself. Sphinx as well. Two big teams here with solo dreams they're working to make happen. 28 builds for Sphinx. At least he has something in the back pocket to kind of bring himself out from the depth that he's in. Miro and Osid there on the other side. Big shot on the Miro. Osid's getting sprayed. They find a way to reunite. The struggles aren't slowing down or stopping. Miro's going to get dropped. Osid trying to get out the box, but even high ground is noticing what's going on until they're fully out of the lobby.
It's Sphinx though. Sphinx is the one holding on here. He's got no teammate in Kanata. It's all up to Sphinx now, but the Chance in Madden high ground hold is looking very powerful. It's going to be hard to beat such a skilled team. Meanwhile, Sphinx though, still playing the upset here. Catches Cole into the box there. Reaction speed was sharp. 17 remaining.
Narrowly dodges that shot as Avenger does go down. Kodak going to be left by himself. And you see Avenger just trying to share over that loop before he's finally out of this lobby for good. High ground pressuring. Cole and Bruins with a whole nother angle doing the same thing, forcing them out. Kodak tries to turn the corner, but he gets eliminated. Cole falls back to back from Sphinx. He is trying to keep his and Kanata's chances alive in this one. One of two solos. Chance and Madden are still up atop, and they're pressuring out Sphinx. He goes for the chop. Timber, they are going to come down. But what can Sphinx do?
He's smart too. He sees the solo, decides that's not my problem. My problem is the duo, and he's really trying to play for the win, but in the end, Chance wins his ones, Madden does his as well, and they will be going to the finals.
Yep, they send it towards that high ground in back-to-back games. It may not have worked out for them in game number one, but persistence is definitely going to be key for Madden and Chance as they claim their ticket to the grand final, Zeke.
Oh man, if that had gone a little slightly different, that would have been crazy. Madden and Chance though, that high ground. This is why we talk about it, guys. You need to go for that high ground. Maybe not as high as Brennan, but pretty good on the high ground, Kelly. Either way, they get themselves the VR, right? And there's only 3 games left to go. So doing it in game 2 has just got to be like just a massive relief.
I love that you can tell that Chance and Madden came into the LCL with a plan in mind. We kind of just got to see a little bit of rinse and repeat from game number 1 into game number 2. They had an okay amount of heals and a load up, but they just waited for this moment where high ground looked like it was a little too chaotic, and that would give them the opportunity to steal it away. And so they do that. Once Funky and Cam were on high, Chance and Madden were able to kind of just position themselves behind, wait for a moment for them to be distracted, and then stole it away with ease. And from there, they were able to control it. Beautiful drop down onto low ground, and the end is history.
So quickly after game 1, we were very, very eager to jump to conclusions on how high ground would play for the rest of the day, but only one singular fight required in just game number 2. Only one single time it went ahead and changed hands right there between Bucky and Cam and then Madden. And Madden walks away with it, kind of stuck to that game plan, like Kelly said, and it worked out. So we're going to be seeing them in grand finals.
3 games left to go, Vivid. This window is very quickly closing. We are about to be the halfway point, and many names still are looking for a chance to qualify. We're going to go to break. When we return, we'll talk about more of what we saw in this game and start to prepare ourselves for game number 3. See you soon.
I got hit with that one. I'm popping a med bit. Wait, short. You got 6 builds? No, max up. Wait, if you have med play. 100! 100! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Milk can help you grow. Milk can't prevent your ride from blasting into space.
Welcome back, Fortnite fam, to the FNCS. This is the LCL, the last chance lobby. The only way to continue the FNCS dream in Major number 2 is to get a Victor Royale in one of the 3 remaining games. Game 2, though, whenever to Madden and a chance, congrats to them. They are moving on, but still many names need to find their way onto that battle bus, Kelly. And with 3 games left to go, it's looking pretty tough. We did see a highlight moment, though, a shining moment where my heart really believed this is it. Kanata and Sphinx, they're going through off the back of a Sphinx solo clutch, taking it all the way to 2nd place. Unfortunately, they didn't qualify, Kelly, but we have 3 games.
Is that what it was? It was your little squirrel heart going? I thought it was a tiny motor, but I understand now that you were excited. It's Kanata and Sphinx. Sphinx was down to a solo competition, of course, but at one point he had 3 chug jugs. He seemed to be doing a really good job staying on the back end of zone on this kind of like edge side. But of course, you're going up against a duo, and he had another solo to deal with on the low ground. There's can only be so many 1v2s, right, Vivid? We already had Virgo's 1v2.
Yep, without a doubt. But I like this from Kanata and Sphinx, right? I kind of called for them to maybe adjust the game plan there from the high ground to maybe play a little bit more of the mid ground, kind of play for those refreshes, and worked out perfectly for them, right? A 2nd place immediately in game number 2 when they do go ahead and attempt that. Of course, it was on the back foot of Sphinx being a solo. Could you imagine, though, if Kanata was kind of still alive in that exact scenario and it came down to a 2v2? Their chances would, of course, been a whole heck of a lot better. So if they kind of just maybe stick to the game plan that they found out in game number 2, might work just a little bit better. 3 more opportunities for Kanata and Sphinx. I'm still have high hopes myself.
Yeah, man. And again, reminder, it's only the Victor Royale matters, right? So 2nd place is basically last place, right? It's the Victor Royale or you're going home. You're taking it to the last chance major, which is after major number 2. So we believe in Kanata. You know, in this last game, we've had some high highs, some low lows, some really high up in the sky moments from Brendan. You know, there was a moment where we're kind of all just looking at like, what is this the play? Like, what's going on? This isn't feeling super good. Obviously, the strategy, it kind of came into fruition, but you know, Kelly, immediately starting to take Storm Surge makes things a little difficult.
It's funny, you know, we try to remain unbiased on the broadcast, but how sour were we, and probably a lot of people watching, once they started getting shot up there? Like them dealing with storm damage, of course, that's something that they're going to have to deal with, but who's shooting at them? Come on, man, let them have their moment up there. You know, I'm not saying let them win, I'm not saying collude, but as far as Brennan and them, I think that's not the last time we'll see a sky base today.
Take a look at these stats for these guys. They are committed to the Sky base strategy. Game 1 placement, they got 40th. Of course, didn't necessarily work out there. Game 2 placement, all right, some improvement there. They have yet to pick up an elimination here today. But these guys, again, they know exactly what they were playing for. They're not playing for the elims. That being said, the kind of falter to their plan in game number 2 was very, very relevant. It was obviously their lack of damage done. You can see right there, only 45 damage done so far. So not a lot of damage done for these guys. And listen, I mean, it's super, super tough for them because I think they know it as well. They're not necessarily shooters. That's why they're kind of playing for this type of a strategy. And listen, it's worked out before for them, but maybe in these set lobbies where the Storm Surge is a little bit more relevant, it might be just that much more tougher. But we did see them kind of pull it out in heats. So I'm still having high hopes for these guys as well.
We'll have to see if they have the setup for the last 3 games. We did see a moment there, Bucky and Cam up on high ground right before Matt and a chance decided, hey, this is ours. You can keep the seat warm, but we're gonna go ahead and take this back for now. But honestly, seeing them in a situation where they had that high ground, it looks really, really good, right? I mean, of course, to see Bucky make it all the way to a finals would be super hype. But again, guys, we have 3 games left to go. I feel like the strategy's there. We just need to make sure we're just kind of fixing up the little issues. And we need to fix them now, Kelly.
I don't know what looks really good is having 3 mythics between 2 players. I'm not sure if they were able to just grab that on their own, or if they were able to take down some players that had them in their loadout as well. But Bucky and Cam definitely loaded out for the end game, but maybe we'll see a little bit of a change, just like what you were calling out, Vivid, from Kanata and Sphinx, where they took high ground just a little bit early. Same thing with Bucky and Cam. Maybe we'll see them wait just around zone 10 and then see a little bit more success there.
So not too long ago, I actually mentioned, Bucky, his game plan was pretty obvious. He went ahead and said on socials, hey, listen, going high ground 5 out of 5 games. So I don't think we're going to be able to convince Bucky and Cam off of the high ground. But that being said, listen, we just kind of had Madden go through. And in game number 1, we're like, oh, well, Madden's one of those teams that appears to just be sending it for the high ground. But as some of those teams that are potentially going to be sending it actually win these games and exit the competition, playing for the high ground of a team like Bucky and Cam becomes a little bit more feasible. So the fact that they're kind of going for the high ground in every single game, seemingly as the competition goes on, maybe we actually start to favor this high ground strategy just a little bit more than we did at the start of the day. And I mean, not to mention, in game number 2, nobody really actually seemed to contest it outside of just 2 teams. So maybe Bucky Camp, they just got to stick to their game plan.
Okay, I like it. I like that. I vibe with that. And now we just gotta hope that happens for them, right? We also did see a little bit of Moneymaker and Fanayan. Moneymaker kind of put in a solo clutch situation. It's difficult, Kelly used the word earlier, pandemonium. These lobbies are hectic, right? The only thing that matters is that VR. We're not playing for placements or elims or clips. It's you have to get the victory royale or you basically came in last place.
No, and they're definitely not the team that kind of leads when the zone starts to move. They like to stay kind of in the back, and that allows them to get some refreshes, maybe some eliminations onto players that are falling behind a little bit. However, that does also mean that they are exposed just a little bit more, and they're constantly playing this edge, just trying to stay on the edge of Storm. And eventually, that's just going to put you into a risky position. So Moneymaker, a solo 4, a little bit there, but we saw them have pretty good success in game number 1. Game number 2 was not that much worse, so I think we can see some more good games coming out of them.
Consistently making the high ground. I mean, consistency on the leaderboard, of course, does that matter, but making sure you were constantly in the later parts of the game, that is what matters. And these guys have made it 2 out of 2 times, and they keep the ball rolling.
3 more games, 3 more opportunities. We continue right here, right now. Casters, take it away.
Thank you, Zeke. I can't help but keep thinking about how Zeke was talking about game 3 was going to be Kanata's game. So I'm thinking that he might have talked it into reality, but Jacob, only time will tell.
Yeah, definitely. Getting second place kind of does something to you mentally. They're kind of surprise contested for the most part. They thought they were going to have Frosted Flats to themselves, but both times they actually won the engagement, likely hoping in terms of Storm Surge, it's got to be able to pull it together. 3 chances, I want to say, I believe.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And, although they're contested, the team contesting them has tried to sort of split the draw, play their own side, but they keep getting caught off guard. The difference might be they're going to end up adjusting, and it's only going to go one of 2 ways. They're either going to land on them or move away. So we'll just have to see.
Game number 3. You can kind of consider this the halfway point for the most part. If your strategies aren't necessarily working, you may need to switch some things up. Kanata, Sphinx, the switch up they have this time around is it does look like they are uncontested, getting all of Frosted Flats to themselves. Rightfully so, 2 games already being finished. There's 2 open drop spots.
Yeah, definitely. And hey, we just talked about it. That team's gonna have to give up the drop, right? Or land directly on top of them and try something different. It seems like they go with, of course, the smarter play, which is to give them the room to play for something else. Those teams now looking to fight for other areas. But here, Flo, Ryan get landed directly on top of by the hands of Maji. And Blue, of course, they have the initial knock. Each of these teams have had their own fair share of success on each side. Let's see who's going to end up winning this one. Maji gets to the shields here. Nicely played for him.
And game 1, we kind of saw Flo able to get that key card, run away with it. And eventually Ryan was brought back into the game. You can wonder why they were able to have all that loot, but Maji not having that same chance essentially pushes himself into the 1v2 and eventually goes down. Flo and Ryan essentially winning back-to-back games here at the Cluster Coast and getting all to themselves, just like Bucky and Cam over at Sinister Strip. For the most part, this will be an uncontested drop spot for themselves, so they're going to have all the time in the world to loot up, farm up, and get everything they need.
Definitely. I mean, there's a reason we're seeing these teams continue to flash their way towards the end game. Last game was extremely promising, but it was the material count that was lacking towards the end, forcing Cam to, of course, take those riskier plays, get more involved in the action, and he couldn't convert in time. There's a little fight going down right now. Bizzo and Moon actually getting the best of Dragon.
It's gotta hurt if you're Dragon and Creon. Dragon and Creon, we're kind of landing somewhere else for the first 2 games, and they go back to this familiar territory. This is where they were landing in their Heat 3, where they were kind of on the line, and just made that decision to chase Venno and Angels around the map. Now, Creon finds himself as a solo. No choice but to go north, try to get some loot, gold, and your teammate back in the game. Northern Caliber. That first elimination so far over and near Golden Grove. They've been having a solid game as well. A lot of the team struggles aren't even necessarily making it through the early portions of the game. It's when it's so stacked in Zone 8, in Zone 9, where things tend to go wrong.
Miro, Osid, last game definitely went south for them. They didn't really earn much points, so seem to have struggled to really make an appearance, make a showing. And we have yet to see Miro or Osid really go for high ground, right? We'd expect a very qualified team like this to not only make it there, but be one of the ones fighting. You know, last game, we highlighted that only a single team exchanged hands for height, and that was the team that ended up winning towards the end.
It's almost that effect of thinking and seeing game 1, like, oh, high ground may not be the play here for this tournament. Huge switch up in game 2, and then game 3 we might see it switch up again with more and more teams realizing my opportunities are going out the window. I may have no other choice. Just continue to watch the Lifty Lodge, Flurry, Bacon, Egg, and Peace, and this is what I was talking about in some of those earlier games. When one team takes the high, the other team takes the low, it usually ends up in a drawn out situation.
Seeing Brennan getting hunted down by Cyclops and Light here. They're not looking to give the boys a break. They were trying to hide out the outskirts, and Brennan knows what's up. He's got nothing in his loadout. He's like, all right, bro. Stands there. That's going to be game 3 for our Sky Basers. Let's see if Cyclops and Light take up the throne. I doubt it.
You know, I can see why they were doing that. I think Cyclops and Light, you know, just playing with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, because they were 2 placings out. Monster, they were 15 points away from not having to be here and getting the day off. Wow. So when you come in that close to missing your spot, you get a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, just like Kanata and Sphinx. You see them kind of switch things up just a little bit. Instead of overstaying their welcome in Frosted Flats, they immediately start to rotate on out. And that way they can start planning accordingly for their Storm Surge. You see Moneymaker and Fanayan doing something similar. Although for Moneymaker and Fanayan, they landed a little bit of split drop. You can kind of still see it in the minimap at the southern edge. So they didn't have to rotate too far to get here.
Yeah, I'm definitely enjoying this kind of play style we've seen from Fnayan and Moneymaker. They've continued to highlight their ability to make end games and do it in pretty strong positioning this time around. We need to do the same here. Look at this. Look at this lurk.
When it's in his name, I wouldn't expect anything different. At least they're checking both ways before they cross the street. Luckily they did, Zypher in the distance, but I'm not sure Bucky and Cam heard any of that noise. Remember, building in middle minimizes a lot of that audio.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, they're really committed to the bit here. Crouch walking their way across, not panicking under pressure. Bucky and Cam don't even hear the construction of those builds. Yeah, I think they recognize those players got away. Surely they know it's Bucky and Cam, right? Like, everyone knows the drop, so it was likely very much intentional. For Void and Magma, game 1 was their best showing so far. Trying to see if we can see some more glimpses of that end game out of them.
Kind of literally seeing just two different sides. One team rotating in. You even see in the mini-map, not too many players there. And then you see on the other side, Ghoul kind of getting targeted out, separated from his teammate. His teammate was able to at least get it down onto Moon. Bezo's just trying to push the 1v1 while he can, but the second one comes in, and there goes the 2v1. Misses such a crucial shot, which leads to his demise. A couple eliminations here. You can see them trying to use those extra builds, build a cushion, but only one can leave at a time, and his teammate just gets stuck underneath, waiting for the zipline to reset. Perfectly timed, though, for Northern and Caliper, because not only able to rotate using these teleporters, but now they have a bunch of loot underneath.
Yeah, super sick heads-up play just to catch the cone right there, get the player in it. And just like that, they secure themselves a great elimination here and plenty of damage as well without taking any. Meanwhile, Listen and Aloe back into the mix here against Flexes and City. This is just outside the new zone, so they've got all the time in the world to kind of entertain this battle. For Listen and Aloe, though, look at this. It's actually cost them so much. This is more of a dragged-out fight than anything else. Both duos are very much worn and torn here.
Yeah, since it's so high up on the mountain as well, it's like a huge beacon to other players in the lobby to kind of realize what's going down. A team might be up there fighting, look hard enough, they might expose themselves, even if it's 20 damage, 13, anything from a distance, and especially if you're one of those faraway teams taking shots on your way in, it's definitely going to be a huge success if you can find that. But Flex's City, they're going to go ahead and use that shockwave. They just want the effect, not necessarily the bounce. They're going to try to catch Aloe out of position with that effect. They can easily try to push their way into a box, but it's taking way too long yet again. Another investment here for both of these teams that isn't necessarily going to work out the way they hoped.
Yeah, definitely. Talk about it going the distance here. Just continue to weigh more and more on the material count now as well as they go build for build. Aloe's still looking for any small opportunity. He's got one kind of exposed there. This could backfire, but no, misses the important shot. Could have turned this entire situation around for him.
You can almost sense the tension here in this fight. Even with the Maven there, like you said, he missed, would have dealt a good amount of damage. Would have almost put City and Flexes into kind of like that fight or flight mode, scrambling around, trying to kind of base up. You're seeing kind of the pressure that I think everyone on the lobby is beginning to kind of run into. Ruins, Cole, over at Wonky Land, they see intruders over towards their drop spot in the name of Light and Cyclops. So they're immediately trying to go on the offensive, fight for their mending machine right back. And right now, Light and Cyclops are just giving up every single angle, which means they're expending a lot of materials to keep themselves safe.
You gotta keep yourself safe here. This is your last few opportunities to obviously qual through. We're in the middle of game 3 right now, deep into the tournament day already. Things are flying by. You know, selfishly too, we still have a lot of great teams to look forward to. As far as the competition, Dragon was actually saved by Creon, but now they're in a fight for their tournament lives here. As they get caught on the edge of zone, trying to bounce back into the event. Dragon finished off once again. Pretty tough spot again. Find himself in here. But it comes at the exchange of Chase. Creon versus Lahino. Nice little heads up play by Creon there, but he's missing the important tags that matter. Goes for the thirst, though. Both sides are even, though.
Yeah, that Siphon's going to help him just a little bit in this fight, keeping him healthier for much longer. And now that it comes down to a 1v1, you see him kind of toying with the idea, go for the reboot van, pressure the fight. That's going to force Leahy back if you want any chance to hopefully get Chase back into this game, but he's probably getting cut a little bit too short. Material count necessarily doesn't scream confidence, so he's going to go ahead and disengage. He can hopefully look back later in the game, catch Dragon and Creon off guard, but as of now, it does look like Creon is going to be able to get Dragon back in this game, and this is how the fight started. That was the opening elimination. Creon is putting the team on his back right now.
Yeah, definitely a massive shot right there to give them a chance. But look at this. Listen and Aloe finding themselves in a very peculiar situation here. Aloe gets finished. Listen forced to disengage and leave his teammate behind. And with limited heals, he's going to try to double back out and play the Storm here. But what is the bigger picture here? He's trying to wrap around, see if he can outsmart them for the reboot card. But Cole and Ruins are not having it. They're sitting right on it.
Yeah, typically in most situations, I'd say it's fine. You can buy the reboot card, 500 gold, get your teammate back in the game elsewhere. But as you said yourself, the huge lack of actual heals. He has 4 apples. Maybe he can keep the doctor away now, but eventually he's going to end up seeing one if he doesn't find it. And that's why he's trying to make it a focal point of going back for the actual reboot card so they can save that money for heals later on in the game. And there's definitely enough time. 4th zone, we are going to move into that 2-tick 5th zone, but if they are definitely on their P's and Q's, we could find them at the later portions of the same game.
What are we thinking about this Scare and G money positioning right now? What are the odds here that they make this end game and play for height? It's looking pretty good.
No, I agree with you 100%. Because zone has been shifting over towards the north side of the map. They haven't had to move far from the Calamari Canyon, which kind of leads me to believe that when it comes to Surge, them hitting shots like this without taking too much damage, they have to be faring well, if not one of the best teams in terms of Storm Surge that is left alive in this lobby as of now. They just got to worry about how they're going to rotate off because they're at such highly elevated area. A shockwave could leave them vulnerable to getting tagged up just a little bit in the distance.
Moneymaker for 9 still alive right now, making their clean exit from the dangerous Battle Woods into the edge of the storm here. Like this spot that they're at right now. No reason to rush, but it is the ultimate low. And they're committing that heavy material here, nice and early as well, not to attract the attention of the opponents nearby.
So I'm just kind of getting like flashbacks of myself playing Fortnite Monster at this part of the zone. You see all the trees outside of Battlewood? There are certain, those big trees right there, thank you, Protection. Those big trees right there, I remember in previous seasons, you can build onto any one of those trees. It kind of reinforces your position in the sky, because even if the tree breaks, your builds won't. Well, for some reason, some of these trees throughout this forest, you cannot build on. So hopefully these teams are very, very aware of the circumstance and don't get caught in the open next to one of these trees where you just can't build.
Yeah, gotta get the right one in the right positioning. But look at this, Bucky and Cam, 112 damage below now, looking to turn things up. Bucky's getting tagged here, but this is what happens when you start to risk it all. Has to slow down, notice, start chugging up. Meanwhile, Cam starts to take the lead here for the retakes. 188 below now. They are continuing to slip behind.
Yeah, losing control over their own game here. The further and further below that damage threshold you go, you have less and less options but to simply push the first team you see. Now they're 268. Storm Surge now activates, so they're taking active damage. I will say the blessing out of this entire situation is where the zone is going, which means there's going to be times where players are trying to shockwave out, and those are going to be the moments there as Cam just tried to go ahead and attack those fresh builds, bleed some of those shots through, but every 7 seconds, 25 damage. It can feel daunting. Even Miro is going through it, but he unfortunately is a solo already.
You can see that the team Bucky's targeted right now, they recognize that they could have pushed in, but either way, now they're just trying to hold him out here. The writing is on the wall. Miro and Osid go down. Cam and Bucky follow shortly after. And just like that, our veterans are falling to the hands of the new. Pumpin and ZXZ have a chance now to do something big with this opportunity, but they're eating so much Storm. Meanwhile, taking a look at the bigger picture here, who else do we have alive? Kanata, Sphinx still in the game, already in the safety of the new zone. Pretty okay loadout to work with at the moment, but not the best, nothing exceptional just yet.
Yeah, it's something where most players will say, hey, I need more loot. But these guys are saying, hey, we possibly have just enough. The bigger thing that I'm looking at right now is 354 above the damage threshold. If this game enough wasn't telling of how hard it is to get that Storm Surge damage, I don't know what else to tell you, because a lot of our greatest players throughout the course of Fortnite's history just having it be a struggle. G-Money on the other side, able to land a shot through the opening onto Kanata, making him second guess should he have ever went for that shot.
Sphinx, Kanata already rotating. Still have a long way to go. Who's going to be the first to get there? Calipper, Northern's there. Anju, Joe find their way there shortly afterwards as well. But look at this, Kanata might actually find kicks. Meanwhile, Creon, Dragon. How did he save Dragon again? This is just insane play by Creon right now, putting on a highlight reel for himself as the best teammate in the lobby.
Yeah, if they somehow end up with a victory royale in this game, you're looking at Creon as the MVP. But Dragon probably taking a lot of the distraction, allowing for Creon to play a little bit more free, but there's really no time to sit here in the backside of zone and get either one of these guys up to full HP or shield. So they're just going to have to work with what they got here in this situation all the way from the far back. You can kind of see similar to Fortnite and Moneymaker there as they were able to find that elimination. Does look like they made the try to collect some of that loot as well.
Let's see what Sinead and Zifta has here. 380 above, just about 300 above, looking pretty good. I'm still seeing Scare light up the feed right now. Take a look at this for 9 Moneymaker. 74 below. Pressure is on here at the moment. They're doing what they can, trying their best here. Plenty of heals to work with. Once again, they have played this so quietly up until now. This is the first time, Jacob, we're watching them just have glimpses, just interest for high ground here because no one else is doing it.
Yeah, they realize, again, after watching that second game, maybe not enough teams are realizing that it is actually worth it because of what we saw, the chaos that went down in game 1, the amount of teams that went up for the high ground. But I like most of all, desperate for that Storm Surge. They immediately build up towards high ground, and Fortnite dealt with that problem. Especially now, more so than ever, with 40 players left up. Storm Surge is going to be deactivated, so it's no longer in anybody's mind. Only thing here is going to be the rotation. Not a max pull by any means for anybody in the lobby. That means it's going to be relatively easy for everybody here.
Definitely might be, but nothing's ever easy when it comes to high ground and end games here. Let's see what's going to end up happening right now. For 9, Moneymaker, Shockwave to the front side of zone. This time they're a little bit more timid. They go with a full box up instead. Kanata, Sphinx haven't quite found their way to break out just yet, Jacob. I haven't seen them glimpse up for high ground. I haven't seen them look for it just yet. Instead, they've conceded to the ultimate low. Meanwhile, Penta and Must right now rotating across the front side. Plenty of heals to work with. Win conditions in the inventory as well.
Yeah, they probably saw it through the cone. Nobody's up for it, but now Sphinx is down. Kanata has to try to return the favor. Sphinx in that last game was able to get so close, a second place finish. But now with the bare minimum, he's gonna burn through this Chug. One last Shockwave. He has to find his way out and get an elimination. There is gonna be a couple bodies there with Spear and Cash both going down. Hopefully Kanata was able to grab something. G-Money with his back thing. G-Money with his back up against the wall. Pressure coming in for the backside of the zone. Now he's being eaten alive until he eventually goes down. Creon again, trying to be the hero until he unfortunately goes down to Fire Mask.
I was gonna say, are we watching Creon put together the most impossible story for a win, but his story comes up short. I'm still seeing Moneymaker and F9 alive. This is one of the more, again, challenging duos to face here, and they're back where they've been most comfortable. That's in the ultimate low ground. Meanwhile, Kanata firing things up here as a solo. Finds Mako running around by himself. Great refresh there, doing exactly what we expect of him now. He's got some material count to work with. Getting a lot of Storm here, but he is still in the game for now.
Yeah, he tries to jump and hope the zone comes towards him, but it does pull on the other side of that mountain. Has to figure out his way on up as Must, Penta. Nobody's really had a chance to look up. They peek to the cone, perfect time as Moneymaker finds an Elim onto Ruins, but he's 10 HP, one tick from zone from going down. He has to wait for it actually to get cleaned up as the Tick and Liam make their way on up over towards that high ground. They take down Penta, they take down Muzz, and now we have a new team with their head in the clouds.
And with a very smart refresh as well, saves the body for a couple of moments. The Siphon allows him to cap off. Look at who's still firing off though. Moneymaker and For9 finding their way through the game, really working with scraps here, but the refreshes are coming back to back now. Kanata still holding on by a thread as well, but I'm seeing 8 teams alive here. This is a tough spot for Kanata. We've already seen the singular clutch from another player. Doing it again here is like an impossible task.
Especially since he only has 2 builds left. Really hoping for America, 1 of 2 solos. Another team is sending it up. Avenger and Kodak. They want this victory royale, and they say the only way we could possibly get it done is with this fight here. Big damage onto Avenger and Kodak, though. The risk, was it worth it? It might be, because Liam and the Tick gave it up.
This is perfect, though, for everyone else because the high ground teams have now burned through so much material to try to maintain positioning. So if you're Kanata, if you're Moneymaker, you're excited. You have an opportunity now, but you gotta win these low ground fights. Fanagin does just that. Moneymaker with the backup shot. And now Kanata sees the blood in the water. He tries to jump into the fight, but has to slow down for a second there. Will Moneymaker get the save? We'll just have to see. Liam and Tick, we already knew had a little bit light material count there, but look at that, Jacob, the save.
Miracles do exist, perfectly timed as well. The zone was coming in. Kanata takes down another duo. Avenger's now left by himself. He will not go down without a fight, but there's no extra shields for him to grab. He has to figure out a way to bring this to a heal up. It's only real win condition because Moneymaker, Brian, they're going ahead and trying to bulldoze their way into the box on way for an elimination here. They're one of few duos still left standing.
What's insane about this, so many elims, so many exchanges, but barely anything to show for it. Everyone in this game is in shambles. Here it is, Void and Magma finally look to high ground. Look, no materials either. This is gonna be an absolutely scrappy battle between what's left in the lobby, but Moneymaker and For9 still have a little bit of hope.
That's a 2v1 situation. Liam goes up. That's the solo. He's distracting the high ground team. Moneymaker and For9. This is their open window. Even more so now with Magma going down. Liam trying to be the hero for his team, but they got shut down. But the damage has been felt. For9 and Moneymaker, they are moments away. A 1v2 situation. Void opens up the edit. We've been here before, though, Monster, and we will not have the same result. Moneymaker and For9, the investment from EU pays off as they make their way to finals.
They did it, and they finally did it in good fashion. Talk about a good old-fashioned scrap right there. Everyone had to get involved in order for that game to go their way. But my gosh, Zeke, what an exciting one.
They did it. I cannot believe, off the back of a revive, we've seen that happen twice now. Last time earlier it didn't quite work out, but Moneymaker and For9, they find themselves a seat on the battle bus in game number 3. Kelly, I'm impressed.
I am too, but we knew that this was not just a possibility, but a probability for Moneymaker and For9. They did get second place in their heats, just barely missing out when it came to the final fight. So to see them go through that, but with the more of an advantage of it being a 2v1, honestly, I love that they got to, kind of avenge themselves, and now we get to see them in grand finals.
Yeah, listen, I started to kind of feel bad for these guys right when they lost, when I was like, oh man, it looked like they were like the healthiest duo alive in the lobby. Like, surely, they're not going to get another opportunity to kind of go ahead and win this game. And it was just on the back of them taking so much damage. But Jacob kind of called it out. A miracle revive in the end game. These are not something that happens common in Fortnite, of course, as everybody at home knows. So kind of saves the game for these guys to kind of keep themselves alive as a duo. You can get Moneymaker right here with the backup, and then kind of a little bit of a help with the way that the zone was actually pulling right there, giving them an opportunity to go ahead and res For9, and it just helped out so much. But second time is the charm. Whenever these guys kind of make it to the end game, they look like they're going to win the game. In game number 3, they actually went ahead and brought it to fruition.
Looks so good, man. I love getting this additional perspective, getting to kind of go back and see, how they kind of operated, Kelly, being hip to hip, especially again in that situation off the back of a revive. You You use the word pandemonium. I'm going to keep saying it, Kelly, because you're so intelligent. You be throwing out big words I've never even heard of them. But to be in those situations where you can find that calm in the storm and go like, hey, this is risky. But when you look back and go, Kelly, that's what caused us to get a Victory Royale and make it the finals. It paid off big time.
Yeah, they bullied that low ground. They kind of waited for where it looked like a lot of players were in shambles. Maybe they were boxed up in some wood bills, and they just sprayed and prayed and made sure that they got into that box and eliminated them. They actually had the most eliminations that I've seen out of any team so far out of our 3 games. So to see them go on the aggressive on the low ground, it actually ended up working in their favor. So maybe we'll see a little bit more of that when it comes to the low ground chaos that's happening. I'm sorry, the low ground pandemonium. But for right now, I think I need a break, Zeke.
It's true. It's true. We got 2 games left to go here before we conclude the LCL. Okay, after this break, we'll talk more about what we saw in this last game. See you shortly.
I got here. I'm popping a med bit. Wait, sure. Got 6 builds? No, max up. Wait, if you're mid play. 100! 100! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Milk can help you grow. Milk can't prevent your ride from blasting into space.
Two more games. That's all we got left. The FNCS dream is coming to an end for 45 duos. But for 2 more, 2 Victory Royales is what it takes. That is the only way to continue this dream. In this last game, we saw Moneymaker and Fnatic get themselves a Victory Royale off the back of a revive of all things, which is crazy, but a Victory Royale is what they needed. Now, of course, Kelly, there's a duo. We're still waiting to see if they get a VR. Kanata and Sphinx. Everything's fine, Kelly. We still have 2 games.
Yeah, and with Kanata performing the way that he did on that solo run, Elam after Elam, it looked like that could have been a solo run that we've seen so many times over the past couple of months, but unfortunately it did not end up going that way. But definitely do not feel like Kanata is underperforming in this moment. I definitely think that with Sphinx by his side in these final end games, that is all that they need to be able to just convert this into a win. But obviously, that's easier said than done.
Listen, I mean, Kanata's got Sphinx on his side. Sphinx has Kanata on his side. They have the experience on the side, and they also have Zeke's emotions on their side, right? The constant crying that we get to hear throughout this broadcast. Kanata and Sphinx aren't qualified to the grand finals yet. And, you know, just so you guys know, a little behind the scenes information, even when we go off camera, Zeke is still crying about this. But yeah, I mean, Kanata and Sphinx, listen, you can see their placement so far. 9th, 2nd, 5th. They're constantly getting into the end game. They're constantly getting into the top 10. So they're very, very close to kind of figuring out. But these last couple of games, they've been left down to solos. They've really got to figure out how they can keep both of them alive, to kind of keep their numbers up and steady. But listen, I got to be blunt about it. We have entered crunch time. Only 2 games left. I'm starting to get nervous like Zeke.
Yeah, man. You know, again, contextually, when you look at those numbers, you're like, man, these are really consistent, strong numbers. If this was finals, man, I'd be like, dude, I'd give them all the praise, right? But this is the last chance lobby. Only the victory royale matters. So many duos still looking to try and get a VR. We saw Dragon and Creon as well find kind of a moment there before Creon was put in a situation to also solo clutch, but man, the lobbies are very difficult, and Kelly with 2 games left to go, I feel like everyone's going to continue to get more and more desperate to try and piece together whatever they need to find that VR.
And at this point, I'm not like sure if they're going to be desperate for high ground, because it just seems like so many people are fighting for high ground, or if they're going to be desperate for kind of this mid ground that we're seeing a lot of our teams pick up right now, which is what Dragon and Creon have been doing in the past, where they don't necessarily go for high ground, but they definitely don't want to be on the extreme low. And once again, Creon going into a solo competitor here. We've seen this duo compete together. They actually made it to grand finals last major as well as a duo. So I think that there's a lot of potential here. They have not been having the games that they've wanted. I think the same can be said for Void and Magma, although obviously in this game, a much better turnout than it was for games 1 and 2 for them.
Yeah, I mean, actually, they looked like they were poised to go ahead and win this one. I mean, straight up the 2v2, they had the positioning against F9 and Moneymaker, but unfortunately for them, the solo in the mix there, Liam kind of just makes it impossible for them to ever get a foothold on any sort of solid ground, and as a result, F9 and Moneymaker just took full advantage of it. So a little bit of life here towards the second half of the competition for Void and Magma with that second place finish for them. If they can kind of repeat that type of performance, then we could be seeing them qualify to grand finals.
Well, Viv, we've only got 2 games to make it happen. Right now, it is that time. Like you said, crunch time is here with 2 games. Who will walk away with the coveted victory royale to be able to say we're going to finals, we're looking to fight for spots to global championships later on? Up first, casters, MDF, Jacob, are you guys stressed as I am?
Not one bit. I ain't stressed at all. I ain't the one playing. I only stress maybe just a little bit actually for Brendan and Jordan, my favorite team probably in all of Fortnite history. What about you, Monster?
Yeah, definitely. They're keeping us entertained here. But, you know, I typed in the chat. We're cruising. These games are fun. This is looking very exciting. You know, with Moneymaker F9 winning that game right there, we're happy to see them go through. But it's one less exciting team, of course, that we get to watch here in the last 2 games.
Yeah, I will say, though, they didn't necessarily go for high ground in a lot of these games. So they're not necessarily going to affect what's going on up there. What they are going to affect, though, is these mid and low ground layers en route to that game win, Monster. They were just bulldozing player after player, team after team, whether they ripped them apart or sent them back to the lobby. That's one thing they just don't have to worry about. So if you do kind of get stuck in those situations, no materials, you have to give up high ground, I don't think it's going to be as scary as the last game.
Yeah, kind of counterintuitive, right? You expect these teams to be fighting for height, but game 1 and 2, they were quiet. Game 3, they struck. Let's jump into game number 4 now.
You know, typically at this stage of the game, I'm saying, let's take a look at the leaderboard, see how some of our teams were doing. If only it was that type of format. You would think Kanata and Sphinx, Spear and Cash, Void and Magma all playing phenomenally well. It's just all about the victory royale, though, so consistency doesn't mean much. You could be in last place, 0 points, 0 elims, pull off a victory royale, and have the same type of feeling as everybody else.
Yeah, definitely. So we start to jump around now. Things are off to a fast start. Barney ends up falling here. Wiggs and Jasper. You can see they've made a lot of progress, if you will, with at least their tournament chances alive so far. Of course, they are still in the race fighting for that win, though. Just like that, they end up besting their drops. Sphinx and Kanade on the other side, a little bit quiet here after they've been given the drops themselves, rightfully so, earning it so far. Pretty much the most consistent team here on the day, but consistency means nothing when you're forced to clutch up as a solo at the end.
Matter, can you piece it together in time these last two games? But just like game 3, game 4, Kanade Sphinx uncontested. But just like every other game before, Christian Drew, Flurry, Bacon, Egg, and Peace continued to go at it here at the south side of Lifty Lodge. Christian Drew have not been getting the better end of the deal. More than likely has been Flurry and Bacon, Egg, and Peace. But all it takes is one win. All it takes is one opportunity and even one shot like that from Drew to drop onto Flurry and turn this into a 2v1.
Drew, Chris going back and forth the shots there. That I was thinking that was going to be the end of it, but not quite just yet. Drew jumps down to low ground. He doesn't lose sight of the Bacon, Egg, and Peace. Finishes up the job. That's the first that we've actually seen this fight kind of this early in the game, so these guys getting a bit desperate, it seems.
Yeah, I can kind of see it, kind of the pressure from all around the map. Ruins and Cole, Wonky Land. Didn't necessarily start off this way with a fight. We can kind of see the desperation, or at least the adjustments coming in from a lot more of these teams. Cyclops and Mike venturing on over, trying to get more and more loot, give themselves a little bit of a better chance, but now he's just kind of stuck underneath. Spray coming from both Cole and Ruins. They haven't been able to find him yet, but if they were just to be a little bit more persistent, spray a little bit more in that direction, they definitely would.
Gotta continue to get active here. Cole and Ruins have that single elim. What I'm gonna do is finish things up here now, though. You can see Cyclops is trying to stay still under the ramp there, but that's not gonna work. So the Wonky Land zone pull here. Things are going pretty far north. Magma Void finding their 2 quick eliminations here at the Sanctuary. Seen a lot of activity at this drop over the course of the heats, and now, of course, into the set lobby here.
We're looking at, you know, Void and Magma, you know, 4th place coming into here. They were just barely 5 spots out in their heat, which was heat 1. So they know what it's like to be close. They've been in 3 grand finals. They just got to be able to pull it together here with 2 chances left, just like Liam and Tick. We saw them fight for that high ground in that last game, but again, we saw more and more teams. It's kind of going off and on. Game 1, fight for high ground. Game 2 was a little lackadaisy. Game 3, multiple teams went ahead and fought for high ground again, which inevitably led to the downfall of Liam and the Tick. Even with eliminations throughout the course of that fight, they just expended so much. So when they finally gave up high ground, they had nothing left to protect themselves.
Yeah, you know, it just comes down to execution. If they didn't basically get punished so much in the fight, they could have turned it around a little bit faster. They would have been okay, but when you go back and forth and you go blow for blow, you're just setting up everyone else's opportunity there. And it really weighed on the lobby. The entire lobby last time around was in shambles. Barely anyone had mats. See no plays here for the first time. Alongside Mafia, just about the furthest they've made it, so pretty tough first 3 games here. Another duo kind of lurking nearby, listening to what's happening, but Noah's got his eyes on the prize here, just trying to win his battle for now.
I was about to say, I'm looking at the mini-map just as much as the actual fight. I'm just praying, no, it turn around. There's a whole nother team crashing the party. Luckily for them, Monster, they were on the low ground, so not as much of a risk as their opposition up above. There's at least 3, maybe even 4 teams directly here, a possible 5th and 6th team in the distance, and everybody's hearing this same noise. So they're all going to start to look over in this direction, so you got to be careful if you are the team on the outskirts of this fight. You protect yourself, and there goes another one, Trix and Blasher going ahead and sneaking up onto Bucky and Cam. I don't know what is the hot spot and what's attracting all the attention here, but a good portion of the lobby has made their way on over.
Yeah, definitely a lot of congestion happening here. There's even more teams. Look, teams are listening to what's happening here. Teams are watching kind of off in the distance in their individual bases. And it just makes me wonder that these are all the guys that have having a hard time with Storm Surge, so they're really trying to just get involved right now.
Now you see one team disengaging on. Oh, we didn't get what we wanted. A little bit too crowded. Probably took way too much time. They knew a disengagement was possibly coming. Noah plays, and Mafia even able to get out relatively safe. But as a couple teams are leaving, I see in the minimap a whole nother team is rotating in from the north side. Angel and Joe starting to make their way on over. I gotta think this is relatively close to the center of the map, but still very, very early on. The zone can kind of push people out. As you see Suspect all by himself. He was the one that gained a lot of that attention throughout the course of that fight, and now he just has to sit and wait for everybody to disengage so he has some sort of hope to get his teammate back, so that way they have a shot here in game 4 and they don't leave it into the last dance.
Yeah, definitely. Pressure just starting to boil here. Look at this though, Spear, Cash have this team again on their heels right now, just watching them stalking here as they approach the machine right now. Just shows you there's always danger nearby too. You never really know who it is.
Just looking at Blue and Maji, I'm just thinking like, they don't typically land over here at Sunken Shores. They usually go over towards the Cluster Coast, so many players and teams are all together switching up their drop spots here with few opportunities left. Even got Spooky and Fire Mask. We saw Fire Mask get a crucial elimination during the course of that last end game. They're lurking up over towards this vending machine. And that's typically the strategy you see a lot of teams do, especially the ones that are landing on the outskirts and do get this max pull, is just kind of hit vending machine after vending machine. Use only 100 gold, buy one med kit, and keep it going.
Gotta get a little something, but look at this Spooky. Fire Mask kind of hanging around. Cash and team end up doubling back here, but that's the giveaway from the zip lines. Again, it comes through, misses the most critical shot though. That might be the one chance that they had to do something big with this. Nothing comes out of it. Fire Mask now, Spooky. Kind of take their L and they go. The other team goes back down the zip. They're like, okay, what's going on up here? They kind of go their separate ways.
Yeah, we'll say, even though they missed that shot and it was a great opportunity, at least they didn't lose anything. They didn't take damage, so it's not necessarily a loss just yet for them, especially since they're going to start to make it a priority to try to get to zone. Bucky and Cam all the way from Sinister, keeping the strategy alive. The only team so far in this game to get that Warforged AR right out of the gates. Obviously, if they go down, it leaves open to getting grabbed. But I want to see them kind of elevate themselves here in some of these end games and just kind of rain down from above. You see the strategy, one of them having that pistol, the other one having the Warforged, so they get to maximize the amount of ammo they have between the two as well.
I don't think I was paying enough attention if whether or not Brennan and Jordan was still alive, but judging by how many teams are out in the storm, they could be in the wild. What do you think about Sphinx and Kanata here?
Yeah, up above. If any game is a game to win, oh, yeah, you see where the zone goes? This has to be that game to win. If you are Kanata and Sphinx. You're on a surge base. The zone is literally going on over to your POI. You're uncontested this time around. You see Sphinx is literally missing only one build. Full ammo, full chug-chugs. They have everything that they need here. Obviously, if the zones pull away, that's something that's working against them. But for the most part, this is seeming like it could be it. I don't want to call it too soon and jinx them, but this could be a moment here for Kanata and Sphinx.
What more can you ask for when you put a zone like that? We'll just have to see. Liam, Tick, though, trying to get back to that glorious endgame fight. This time, they're in a bit of a scrappy battle here at the Latte Landing. Plenty of teams, surprisingly, nearby, kind of listening to the action go down here. Liam, though, takes a monster shot in return there. This is really bad. They've now officially gone through all of their metal. Tick ends up falling. Flixes gets the exchange. The Siphon's going to keep him alive. This is just bad news all around. Liam goes right into Wallahi and his teammate here as well. It's just not good.
That was kind of perfectly played though. We're chasing
They left
duo.
him? Okay.
Yeah, wasn't even necessarily, you know, going for an elimination. He was kind of by himself. That's the thing. He was a solo. Chase was too far away. He was probably listening to the fight, knowing like whoever wins or loses this fight, they got to come back to this reboot. Gets a cheeky shot, realizing maybe one more person there could have been his teammate. He just kind of disengaged for free. And now you're kind of seeing the other half. We know Kanata Sphinx position outside of Frosted Flats, on top of that mountain, I should say. They don't have to rotate far, but other teams, Soneto, Zypta, just kind of get in any position that you can. Bush in the middle. And because so many teams are positioned in bases all around, there's not going to be too many risky opportunities with teams rotating just kind of blindly into that bush.
As long as Soneto and Zypta have the damage, I mean, that's about as good as having a massive base. They are super low key, and they should be fine to ride out a couple zones. Mero, Osid have been struggling with Storm Surge, at least from our perspective, from what we've seen. There's been kind of disconnect with the damage that they've been able to put out. Osid, Mero, going to kind of entertain this battle, if you will, but look at this. I see Brennan and Jordan here on the outside. They haven't even started their massive base. Instead, they're getting chased by ZXZ. What is going on over here? Mero, Osid see something fishy's going on the outside. They're starting to turn their attention towards this team as well.
I'd say this could be a blessing though for Brennan and Jordan. When you have Miro and Osid making their way on over, it just makes it that much more of a risk to go ahead and try to chase down a team, whether you have the damage there or not. You can kind of see where the zone is going, all the way towards the western edge. And so now Miro and Osid do have a little bit of a decision. Do you want to continue to focus your attention in that direction, or do you waste no time and try to make your way on over towards the zone? As we tune into Bucky, he has to waste no time himself, making his way on back. 260 below the damage threshold. No Bucky in sight. He's immediately positioning himself on that reboot van, which is going to give away his position to the rest of the lobby.
Yeah, but remember this. We just saw Kanata and Sphinx here up on the mountain. I still see the arrows there, so you got to think that they're all going to be focusing this player flying out the sky right now. There we have it. Let's take a look at the replay here. Brennan, Jordan trying to do something here, but no! Jacob! Jacob. That's going to be a major setback on time, damage, material counts. That.
I was gonna say, most people looking at that monster and they're like, yo, he just fell in the water. What went wrong? Everything went wrong. When you're a sky-based team and you fall off of your height, the timing isn't there. Like Monster said, the materials, you're gonna have to use more of those heals. So hopefully Jordan is willing to sacrifice himself in yet another game for Brennan, as Bucky, fresh off of the reboot, revives himself in the van, but he's not able to cut that distance and just taking so much more damage. Cam is going to need some sort of a miracle. 455 below. That is more than 2 full eliminations worth of damage.
Yeah, I just don't know how you survive this right now. You know, this is a really tough spot to be in. You know, again, valiant effort gets the Siphon to kind of stay in the game here, but look, that really wasn't worth much. Now, this player did have some heals, so long as he can pick it up, but there goes the focus from behind. I was going to say, teams are surely going to jump on this. There's just way too many Chug Jugs and Big Paws there. Kicks and Zen will get the first two. Kind of touch the loot here. Creon, Dragon back in the mix here. See that mythic pistol at play there. All right, so now we finally see Dragon and Creon. They've been kind of struggling, but in a good way, you know, winning these scrappy battles, really showing us their muscle. But now they're alive together, and they actually have something to work with.
Yeah, last time we saw them kind of in the end game around here, you know, it just kind of all fell apart due to lack of materials, lack of resources, and being below that damage threshold. And why the tables have turned this time around, you can kind of see the confidence from Dragon and Creon being able to peek through, trying to persistently put down pressure, whether they get the eliminations or not. It's taking away resources from everybody else. Kanata and Sphinx doing the same thing. More so for that damage, 131 with 18 players needing to go down. They know that can turn at a moment's notice.
Yeah, we were hyping up the fact that they had pulled that zone and they had the opportunity to play for free high ground, but you see how quickly that can turn. It's just going max draw after max draw. Now they have to shockwave all the way across here. They've already used a few of them. See how this is going to play out. You have a team already positioned up for high ground. Mero, Osid from deep in the storm. It's cost them a fair bit. You can see the light loadout here. A couple open inventory spots. Just 70 above right now. Somehow, they've been struggling to find the damage. It's not very characteristic of Osid nor Mero as far as what we've seen them put up number-wise in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and as you can see, it's not going to get any easier. So they have to essentially, just like everybody else, Kanata and Sphinx in that same boat, shockwave up the mountain on one side and make their way down on the other. And that's where you're seeing a couple players just kind of dropping in the feed, just going down, separated from their teammates. Mafia's feeling a little bit of a struggle. Diego plays below the damage threshold. Not as drastic as we've seen so far in this lobby, so one good turn like this from Mafia could put him above the damage threshold. Whether he gets the elim or not, he was successful in that endeavor, but now he's getting sprayed all around. One shot is going to bleed through. He's going to survive on one end, but will remain below the damage threshold, but he's still fighting it out. Lands a good shot. A Monster, the numbers game just worked their way against him.
Yeah, very, very good try in the end there. Still seeing Northern, Calipper alive, Mako and XZ playing the high ground. Mero and Osid have found their way up to height. Kanata, though, fighting for his life right now as they are barely above the threshold, but Sphinx finds a key elimination. Can they secure the loot is the real question. They do. The rest of the lobby sees and senses the danger down low. Osid and Mero, though, look at this. You were kind of poking fun at their lack of damage, but they're going for high ground.
It's not just them, though. You see Mero and Osid underneath, Scare and G-Money. Kanata and Sphinx are known for it as well. Didn't necessarily attempt for it in that last game. Trying to control the mid layer before Moneymaker and F9 inevitably took him down. As Mako looking towards the back, takes out Moon. A lot of focus on the B zone. This is where they might look to drop down if they can clean up these eliminations. They have a huge lack of resources, especially since Daze continues to expend them to continue their high ground endeavors. Kanata finds another couple of materials underneath. I know you at one point or another mentioned kind of their dwindling resources, including those shockwave grenades, and that's going to give them a little bit of a boost.
Yeah, that's what happens when you go max pull to max pull, but they definitely have found something to put them back in the game right now. G-Money and Scare, though. This is a team that is an elite duo in this lobby. They paired up and are putting up right now. But looking to the high ground, it's still XC, it's still Mako. There's a lot of teams kind of floating in the mid-ground layer. Magma and Void are thinking about it as well. We're going to see another one of those just all-out fights for height here shortly. I'm seeing way too many teams with a good amount of material. I'll just be honest. I think a lot of people have a lot to work with. So these refreshers are definitely hardy. But take a look at this. Drag and Creon go up for second height as well. They're doing exactly what we thought teams should be doing to start trying to poison up for high ground. Look at this.
Yeah, I even saw a moment right there trying to go and get aggressive. I saw the pre-edit be placed before it was reset. Three teams continue to look up towards the high ground. That could be their key for success on the bottom. Nero Osid looking to get another elimination, but a full battle continues to break out. Maji and Blue, they switched their drop spots up this game. They probably switched up their entire strategy. It might be time for them to go to height, but they go and try to contest Scare and G-Money, who send them right back down low to the low ground, and they've elevated themselves even more. Monster, one shockwave might not be enough to take high ground away from Scare and G-Money.
No, definitely not. This is how you hold height on a very much structured foundation, because two teams fall for it. Creon, Dragon on the other side, find Mako there. They try to get the teammate, and they do as well. And look at this, the double edit comes through, though, but Creon hits a monster shot. He has been playing so exceptional. You have to give him his credit. Unfortunately, though, he does lose his teammate there. Hopefully the second comes in to get him back in the game. Mero, Osid, give up the eyeing of the high ground. Find Sinetto here on the low ground. There's a fresh, big refresher for them. Mero has to split the loot, but no! As he's trying to situate himself, Kanata and Sphinx come crashing down.
A huge sideline there and a pick-me-up opportunity for Kanata and Sphinx. You see Kanata, no extra hard match. Sphinx either. They are on E when it comes to those materials. Good thing for them. That elimination got them a full amount of wood. Now they're going ahead and trying to hold on to this layer. You can see they're not taking any big risks. They can probably hear the action going down above where Creon was able to get another elimination on the blue. Maji is down as well thanks to Scare. Creon continues to climb up that ladder. He's hoping so that way he can take him down. Scare's even forced to the backside of zone. I think everything has been lost for both of those high ground teams.
And now this is going off the ledge of the mountain as well. So it's whoever will have the material count to go the distance now. G-Money, Scare already starting to run loose here. Little light on it. Kanata Sphinx surely understand there's something happening up top. Creon, though, chops from the storm. Talk about a play, and he gets some elimination. Someone ends up taking a little bit of damage. Creon, though, is thinking about going for it. Of course he does. Why not? But he doesn't throw the shock in time.
He had a whole nother chug, but he does not time it perfect. The battle for the high ground and possibly the game as well. Kanata and Sphinx send it up with the shockwave. Big shots being fired off onto both of them. Scare will not back down. He is not intimidated, but they still find a way to climb their way on up, taking it away from Scare and G-Money. Materials might be the difference maker, but Kanata and Sphinx don't have them either. They have to give it up and set their eyes down below. It's Joe and Angel, the only other duo, but Scare as a solo left his mark, taking down Sphinx, leaving Kanata in a 1v2. He's able to make quick work, so it is actually going to be a 1v1 situation if he can get a knock. Joe, weak. He does have the chug jugs. Angel, same position, but he has the chug jugs. Kanata goes for the side angle. Monster, it is not enough. Angel and Joe will steal away that game.
Yeah, in the end, it was so close, but they lost track of Scare there. Either way, congratulations to Joe and Angel. A huge win. And Zeke, that's a ticket straight to the finals.
Congratulations! Angel and Joe, victory royale! Let's go! Oh, Kelly, I want to be sad, but I gotta be happy. I gotta be happy right now.
You do have
for
to
Joe,
be happy.
for Angel. This is a big moment. They get themselves that victory out. Now they get to go to finals this weekend, fight for spots, go to the global championships, fight for prize money. I mean, this is a big moment for the duo.
100%. I mean, their best game was, I think, a 13th place overall in the day. So to see them being able to come out on top against some big names like Kanata, like G-Money and Scare, we do have to give some props to Angel and Joe. But you do have to imagine that some people are seeing this Angel with a little bit of devil horns because of how close Kanata was, Vivid.
Yep, without a doubt. And listen, for Angel and Joe here, this will actually be only their second time for each of them. So each of them have made a singular grand finals before, but this will only be each of their second time entering a grand final. So a very big moment for these two guys. And listen, Kelly, this is actually one of those teams that actually switched things up coming into this last chance qualifier here, right? Kind of Angel actually played in heat number 1. Unfortunately for Joe, he did not actually play in the heat. So making this a little bit of a change in terms of forming a new duo for this last chance qualifier immediately works out for them as they do go ahead and get the win here in game number 4. And as a result, we'll be seeing them in the grand finals. And like I said, for each one of them, only their second time each.
And we can see here on the low ground right now, they did have just a handful of eliminations, and you have to think it's because of that Mythic Maven right there doing so much damage and actually breaking the double-digit eliminations here. Although, maybe not. I'm not too certain what's going on with my screen right now, but there we go. Double-digit eliminations, 10 elims for this duo right now, although as we know that eliminations didn't really mean too much, but being able to clean out that low ground, being able to stop the chaos, the pandemonium, as we've been calling it, it probably allowed them to control that low ground without too much issue. We saw that Kanata as a solo was sticking to the mid ground, and then obviously it was G-Money and Scare on height. So for them to kind of clear out low ground so there isn't that pandemonium was a really smart play, Zeke.
It was, and it was enough to get them that victory royale. Friends, one last game to settle it. One last spot before we start looking toward the finals. Oh man, I'm stressing.
I'll go here. I'll go. I'm popping a med bit. Wait, short. Got 6 builds? No, max up.
Wait, if you're mid, wait.
100! 100! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Milk can help you grow. Milk can't prevent your ride from blasting into space.
Zeke, you're a professional. Believe in Canada. Believe. Sorry about that, everybody. I was lost for a moment, but I am now back and more believing than ever. Everything's fine. Angel Joe get themselves a victory on game number 4. Congrats. They will be making their way to finals this weekend. One game left to settle it all. One final spot on that battle bus heading to the finals. Kelly, there's still some really big names that have not earned that spot, and we'll have one final game to do it.
Speaking of big names, it's not just Angel and Joe, it's Angel and Batman Joe. I was wondering who was this Joe, but it's Batman, keeping on the legend of Batman Booga in the best names that Fortnite has to offer. So I just wanted to clarify that for a second. Good job to Angel and Batman Joe. But regardless, we have other people to talk about. I wonder who it could be. Oh, maybe Kanata. So, Kanata, you know, really good game as far as what we've seen them do for taking height and controlling it. I thought that this was the best that they have ever looked, but Vivid, you called me out when I said that earlier, that they took so much damage trying to take high ground.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it came down to, I believe it was like 3 teams left. Of course, you know, Kanata and Sphinx, and they had Joe in the mix as well. And then we kind of saw a scare play spoiler towards the end. So they kind of started to feel a little bit confident, right? They was like, all right, listen, we've gotten all the way to the end game. We're duo, we're healthy. Let's go ahead and try to take the higher ground. But as soon as they went up, you could see how low they are. They took so much damage from Scare in the mix. And unfortunately, like MDF kind of called out, they lost track of Scare. They had no idea where he went. And even though he was in the storm, had no chance of making it back in. He kind of goes down as he gets one singular shot off and takes out Sphinx. But take a look at these guys' placement so far. I mean, 9th, 2nd, 5th, another 2nd in the mix. I mean, their average placement right now is 4.5. They're playing so well, but they are not playing well for this specific format. The only thing that matters is the win, and they have yet to get one, and only one game left. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, man. Like, again, props to their play, right? If this was finals, they'd be like top 5, top 3, whatever that may be, right? This would be so good. But again, the only thing that matters in the LCL is that victory royale. 2nd place is not good enough. We've also seen other duos performing well, right? Like Scare as well and G Money. We've seen these performances, you know, and we have a final game, one last game. So many these duels are thinking the same thing, man. If I don't make it now, it's over. I have to take it to the last chance major, which is fine, Kelly, but
no, it's not.
I mean, it's not, right? You're right, it's not.
You do not want to have to go through that because there's just so many question marks. You want to make sure that you're in the lobby that you're used to, and that is going to be the Grands lobby, and that's exactly where G Money and Scare are looking to right now. And honestly, you know, we say that they had this one good game, but it's these teams that are having multiple good games that I just have to feel for right now. They get a 6th place at the start of the day, and then of course a 3rd place in that last game right there. So close to being able to make their way into Grands, but just missing the mark. However, we have seen consistent success from Scare and G Money. I think they need to just keep doing what they're doing in order to come out on top.
I mean, you can see their placements there. I mean, doing so well. Obviously, another team that we kind of talked about entering the show here today was Miro and Osid. We were kind of talking up Miro, right? A bunch of FNCS titles under his belt, a bunch of grand finals appearances for him. And the big question was this new duo going to be enough to go ahead and qualify through this last chance lobby for the duo? I mean, they have not picked up a win so far. And honestly, Kelly, looking at their match history, they haven't actually broken into the top 10 a single time in these first 4 games. Is Game 5 going to be any different for them?
But that is the beauty of the last chance lobby. You don't have to perform well. You could be getting 50th place every single game, which would be very difficult because teams drop, so it should be 50th and then 49th. But anyway, you could be making it last every single game. But if you are able to get into that final game, clutch out a win, that is all that matters in this lobby today. And if anyone can do it, wouldn't it be amazing if it's Miro and Osid?
But there's other names, right? Wouldn't it be Kanata, right? To keep that streak alive. So many names, but only one spot right here, right now, with one final shot. Who will find themselves in that seat heading to finals this weekend? Let's find out. Casters, for the last time today, take it away.
As it stands, Monster, 46 teams are still hoping to keep their FNCS Major 2 alive. You guys can call this Game 5. I'm going to call this the last dance of the last chance. And hopefully one of these teams can keep their dreams going.
Yeah, pretty tough position to be in. Obviously, the desk is pretty split on who we want to see go through the finals. I'm sure the fans at home are also rooting for their favorite teams. But hey, in the end, only the best will push through. But the chances are it is going to be someone who is very much worthy. I feel like there's someone out there that's about due for a win.
Yeah, legacies are looking to be continued, but if you're one of those teams that have yet to reach an FNCS Grand Final, this is your moment. It is literally Game 5. After today, you got to sit back and watch with the rest of us as Grand Finals unfolds. Spots at Global Championship are still up for grabs as well, so this is just, could be the start, some would say, of some of these players' journey.
Yeah, most definitely. You saw last game, new team just jump in out of nowhere and secure that win, regardless of how consistent you've been playing here today. Well, with that, I heard the battle bus. I'm ready for the last chance.
With one game left here, it really all goes down to this. A victory royale is a must. It doesn't matter if you have the most eliminations on the day. It doesn't matter if you got the most damage throughout the course of today. All that matters if you are one of 5 teams to actually win a game. And right now for Kanata and Sphinx, uncontested again, gives good hopes for their legacy.
Yeah, definitely. You saw how close they've come time and time again. Just something different, of course, is occurring time after time. But what I can appreciate most is the adjustment, is the ability to be malleable, try to do something different every single game. For now, though, this little fight here for Ultra and Diego, we saw them take their last game very far. Although they have to have dealt with ZXZ, of course. This time around, both sides disengaging, not looking to really, again, throw this opportunity away. Looking at the feed, though, already 3 teams down and out. Chances in Dreams being crushed here tonight. As we're starting to approach the late stages of the beginning.
Z just tries to turn back for a short second. His position is revealed, and Troy's trying to go in and get the elimination. And he finally does. Maybe a little bit of help from Diego plays, but Ultra and Diego are able to squash their competition at Latte Landing yet again. They may have run into a little bit of struggles, so we might be looking at their Storm Surge later on in the game, but at least they're putting their best foot forward here.
Yeah, definitely. Talking about that, you know, Wiggs has had a lot of success in the early game, but his HP is pretty low right now. 1-ups. Ben did it. L and Sus right now just trying to see what they can make happen. Wiggs is hiding out in a bush. I was going to say, there's no way he doesn't suspect that he's in there. A blind shot gets him the tag. Oh, he must be feeling pretty rewarded after that one. And again, it doesn't matter how consistent you've been. All that matters is if you are alive and in the race for the win now. Bucky and Cam have kind of had a similar story as well. We haven't really seen them been able to take flight. They had one game where they were almost starting to make it happen, but Cam just couldn't convert on the critical elims that he needed. Will this be his chance?
Just like them, a lot of teams in this game probably feeling the pressure here. This literally being the last game to keep Major 2 going for them. You got Drew and Chris, and again, surviving off of their drop. They did get one elimination, though, so it wasn't without a fight. With that one elimination, you know that solo players probably scouring around, trying to find loot of their own. It's Beg and Egg and Peace on the other side, just off the edge of that mountain, trying to hide behind that rock. Right now, Drew does have a bird's eye view. It's just, can he see it?
Take a look at Light and Cyclops after getting eliminated early last game. Actually have a chance now. Trying to get back into things still, though. Just a single elim, not quite done. The job's not finished here. This is payback, though, for the last round.
Almost seems a little bit of a surprise contestation. Blanks and Mako going here uncontested all day long. Cyclops and Light, they were at Wonky Land. They had a contested fight of their own against Cole and Ruins. This game around, though, they're changing things up. Rightfully so. If it's not working, you only have one opportunity left. Changes are going to be a must. And so far, it puts them in a little bit more of a driver's seat than some of the other games that we played so far. One elimination. They may not know exactly where Mako's at, but they know he's got to be somewhere. And with the zone not too far away, they have all the time in the world to just park the bus and wait.
See, Cyclops a little hesitant to get involved because he could potentially get pieced up. He only has a single build. He doesn't know that Mako is also down to just 2 as well. The Storm's going to start the timer for everyone. The clock is ticking. Cyclops and Light are going to start feeling the pressure of that. We have a med kit, but I don't think there was more than one. Here it is. Light starts to move out, leaving Cyclops, who of course has that med kit to stand by and stay on watch. No one Mafia on the other side. Saw them go somewhat the distance there, really putting up the hero's effort.
Even Noah plays in Mafia. Changing things up. We saw them in a couple of fights earlier on in the overall tournament at this exact drop. But you know, when Moneymaker and Fernayan win a game, they were here uncontested. You can kind of get the drift. Multiple teams probably saying, hey, maybe we can go ahead and grab it to ourselves. But when everybody has that same idea, it does make it crowded. This time around, Noah plays sticking to the strategy, though. Miro and Osid over at Sunken Shores. Again, another one of our uncontested fights. And this is a team I was kind of expecting so much more from. Not even necessarily because of Miro and his long-standing history, but more so because of Osid and how good him and G-Money have been playing from Sunken Shores. Unfortunately, they didn't qualify out of the play-ins, didn't make it to the heats. They went their separate ways, so I was just expecting a lot.
Yeah, no, I'm following the same tune there, you know. Osid, again, is someone who is extremely experienced. Not to say Mero isn't, but taking so much time away, you'd expect him to have a hard time, right? It's only right. Dragon, Creon. Creon has really been the star of this duo here, at least today. Big shot coming in from the distance there. It's unfortunately a missed Bacon, but no sweat, no problems.
Yeah, they got to be careful right there. The bank shot pistol. It's not necessarily the headshot or even the body shot that you have to worry about, even though a body shot does about 100 damage. give or take. It's more so the bank shot at 170 to the body. We saw both of them there, standing there kind of in the open. Less than 170, that would have been a knock, and definitely an opportunity to kind of change things up just a little bit. We jump on board crazy and exhale. One elimination here so far to start the game. And they're a team, in Heat 2, they were, again, a little bit outside of consistency. 26 overall, which includes those 5 Victory Royale winners. So you know they have already a little bit of experience in this style of lobby. But I'm just not sure how much experience they have going into the last game of the day, which kind of has your whole entire season on the line.
Take a look at this. Sphinx and Kanata going for a big rotate right now. They have a lurking team in the bush. It's Magma and Void, a very solid duo. Shots come in. Okay, not close enough to get boxed up and put out, but a couple tags go through to set them back ever so slightly. Kanata's been on the losing side of the storm so far today, as the pulls have been working against them. Last game, it was looking so promising, and then zone after zone just made it increasingly difficult. We had to play for it. Steno Zifta not looking to wait around too long on the edge here. Already using those critical shockwaves to rotate.
Yeah, and even though a couple of shots like that, you saw Zypta take a little bit of damage. In one instance, it's really not too much to worry about, but as you see Soneto getting tagged up yet again, 10 damage here, 20 damage there, it continues to add up over time. And some of these teams today, you have seen them kind of struggle with Storm Surge, barely being above that damage threshold, kind of in desperation mode, and then that max pull kind of compounds on top of that, make it harder for you to play that little bit of catch-up that you're going to need. So that's why I feel like you kind of see certain teams playing a slower pace game this time around. And they don't want to bite off more than they can chew at any one of these one moments. You even see the scanner going down for Scare and G-Money, making sure they're just not getting lurked on by anybody else. Sitting by the mending machine, sometimes that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, definitely, but they're the ones being very vigilant right now. Scanners, of course, giving them that extra detail. Let's see it, though. All the early shockwaves. This is really interesting that we're seeing teams really play for kind of center and clear positioning into this last game. Almost a lot earlier than I feel like we've watched anyone else rotate. Diego, Ultra, back into another fighting stance here. Just can't catch a break on their rotate so far. Hits to the hands of Cold and Ruins. A very, very sound team, like we talked about. They've rotated. They've gone ahead to the mending machine.
Sometime for these teams, it's kind of like a multi-step journey. Just making it to the zone is just step one. Hitting that mending machine and getting healed up is step two. But you can kind of see in that kind of altercation there, even though there wasn't necessarily damage being traded off, kind of forcing them to kind of skip a step or dig into their chug jugs, early resource. Kanata and Sphinx, you're kind of seeing why they rotated when they did. They're trying to beat a lot of those other teams that are coming in and stacking up, not only the north side, but the western edge of the zone as well. We do have a decent amount of time until it does close, but for Kanata and Sphinx, there's a lot of opportunity here for them to try to get damage on anybody else that tries to rotate in their direction.
Yep, no one's showing themselves just yet, though. And no one positioned behind them either, so it'll be pretty quiet here in the moments to come. But this Storm Surge is going to start to turn on. We're going to start seeing the warnings flash here. Osid, Mero, no elims just yet. I like the positioning, though, and they pulled the zone for the most part, so this is looking pretty decent for them at the moment.
I would say that's kind of like the tough part about kind of pulling the zone for the most part. If you don't get the initial shots and anybody kind of rotating in, they're going to box up in brick, in metal, kind of take different locations just like this to where you're not going to get those same chances again and again and again. So you got to take them while they come. See Cyclops and Light rotating in from that southern part to the map, and they're kind of feeling the pressure here. They're rotating in towards Shake and Sanctuary, and if they don't watch their back, you see how many teams are currently around that spot in the actual POI, and there's even one more coming from the south side that could potentially lurk on them.
Yeah, Hari's kind of situation and Civs here is looking really solid as far as like the overall heals and whatnot. But they are going to have to leave this comfortable base that they've set up right now. Seems like they were hoping someone was going to come for the vending machine, but no one's interested just yet.
We knew this positioned already. Scare and G-Money kind of held it down. They had scanners here. They had all the information in the world. And they actually positioned themselves perfectly right above that zip line, knowing if anybody's going to come up here, they have to move up that zip line as a solo, because it does take a few seconds to reset. So they immediately strike one down. The second one tries to go in. They strike him down as well. 2 straight eliminations. And we saw them before this position. You can see over 1,000 mats already on Scare. They don't necessarily need the loot. This is just that little extra boost. You know, when you get an ice cream sundae and you get the cherry on top.
Yeah, they made that one look nice and easy. They made that one look nice and easy. Picking up 2 fresh elims like that. Well, the zone's unfortunately going to pull very far from them, though, Jacob. They are going to just have to leave all those extra goods behind and try to make their way up here. This is pulling back to the Frosted Flats. And now if you're Kanata and Sphinx, you're probably thinking, man, we gave up that nice little bit of high ground. Here they're finding themselves sort of in the mix, but again, this is their general drop, so they have a good lay of the land here.
Yeah, you can kind of see the sky base, or I should say surge tower, just a little bit too far in the distance. Going to be out of zone, so they don't want to revisit that location. Then have to shockwave off, especially only being 60 at one point or another above the damage threshold. This position here gives them a whole range of view, 360 degrees all around for all these teams struggling to kind of make their way in. It's going to allow them to land a couple of shots, continue to build that surge, but then they get gifted again another zone. So these are 2 back-to-back games when you're looking at it. Frosted Flats, it is the drop spot. It's where the zone is at. Kanata and Sphinx, this is a must.
Yeah, this time it's not a max pull, these first 2 zones, so that by itself is going to save them a lot, but I'm not seeing the same amount of loadout, right? They were very healthy as far as like had an abundance of extra heals to work with last game, and that all went to waste on the rotate. So a little bit give and take here. Not as good of a situation loadout wise as the last round, however, much more of a favored zone pull. If that continues to go through, it'll look very good for them. Dragon and Creon on the other side. Like I said, I couldn't help but just highlight how good of a teammate Creon has been so far. We just see a little bit more from Dragon. This team is going to continue to push and go the distance. So far, it's looking very good for them as Dragon has continued to show us life. 2 elims in his counter there. Here we have it.
Yeah, just kind of seeing the zone and kind of lay of the land all the way from the tip top to the southern end as Mira and Osid find their first elimination of the game. We kind of saw where they're at from on the line to almost 400 above that damage threshold. 20 players do need to go down, so it's not going to stop anytime soon. So you need to still be proactive. But as of now, with that extra bit of loot, they already got a full made box. Don't need to make any rash decisions here. Just kind of formulate a little bit of a plan. If it goes out south, be ready to shockwave here. If it goes north, be ready to shockwave here. Bucky and Cam probably trying to do the same thing, but they're all the way on the northern edge.
They're going for high ground, though. They're already starting to posture up. This is before the zone even reveals itself. A little early, but again, they will be able to shock right off and get to some fast positioning here.
Don't
they spotted him? Are you kidding us?
Maybe they just can't. Maybe they can't. It's too thin. It's too thin.
Oh no. They had to give it up.
Bucky and Cam, you are on the list for sure, buddies, for that one. But all things, it must continue. Either way, Bucky and Cam probably had to fight him. Let's just go ahead and rid the biggest problem in the lobby first. Everything else can be small fry from there on out. But what they're doing as well is kind of easing up the pressure of that happening to anybody else in the lobby in the worst case scenario if they do go down. Kanata and Sphinx kind of looking. They're not too far away. Ever since they went south from Frosted Flats and then worked their way back on up, that's going to put them right in the center of the zone. So they could potentially one shockwave their way there just like this and rebox up so they don't take too much damage.
I'm just thinking how the observers were like holding that one for us once again. Hit us with the surprise. So close yet so far from a very interesting ending. Nonetheless, though, this is still going to be very interesting. Only one team can now, again, walk away with a qualification spot. It's the win and you're in format. Dragon, Creon, starting to look really solid here. Eyeing up the second height, eyeing up the mid ground right now. Here we have it. Endgame is near. Hold zone here for Muss and Pentabot. They're the only team kind of set up right now to possibly go for an early high ground. Bucky and Cam on the ultimate low. This is not what Bucky and Cam promised us.
Hey, it's still soon. 8th zone. Probably have the idea in their mind. Just like possibly Osin and Mero. Let a lot of those teams battle it out. Let them expend material for that high ground early. We'll go ahead and fall under the radar, conserve our material the best that we can, and kind of strike when we can. As Muss and Penta doing a good job holding it down. Anybody that flew near their location, tried to fly past the high ground, did take some sort of damage. It's Kanata and Sphinx underneath, staying to the low ground right now. That's going to be the game plan for Kanata and Sphinx. And they're a team that they don't necessarily care about pride. As long as they make it to the grand finals, they're happy.
Sphinx and Kanata almost ended up in that opponent's box, but he just so happened to get ahead of them. Bucky and Cam, as I was starting to yap there, go for second height. Now they're positioning up, trying to give this that entertaining endgame, but Creon and Dragon have been slowly making their way too. There goes the split of the shockwaves, just making sure both of them have them. Cam, Bucky, though, finding another secured elimination here. A lot of material comp. It's going to start adding up here, depending on what Calipper has. There's that max material. Okay, this is going to start giving a wave of confidence here.
Yeah, if they could somehow chop down height just a little bit, they have enough materials to just full send it upwards. But Muss and Penta doing a good job controlling the rest of the lobby down below, not giving too many open opportunities to look up. Mero taking a few scratches because of the zone. A worthwhile sacrifice, eating the storm damage to get a better position. Almost a no-brainer considering the materials, as Kanata and Sphinx get a few pre-edits in. They're pushing Scared down, drop down to a sliver of HP altogether. Sphinx is going to get that knock, so they are going to be able to clean up that elimination.
There it is. Cam starting to target the high ground here. Breaks a couple of those key structures. Here comes the shockwave across to reposition up. G-Money recognizes it's happening as well. Penta fighting for the refresh here, but Cam and Bucky start to strike, and they time it perfectly. They're uncontested up top. There's the elimination. A fresh set of material to the hands of Cam. Finally, they have something to work with, but it's barely holding on here.
Yes, he sends it raw by himself towards that high ground. Inadvertently put himself in a one-v situation. As Kanata and Sphinx go down. One of the most legendary streaks in Fortnite history has just come to an end, but it's an opportunity. Mero is back, and he's going for the high ground along with Osin. They're ready to take the fight against Bucky and Cam. Osin takes way too much damage. He is definitely forced to slow his roll. Bucky returns back on up to the high ground, but he eats a mouthful of damage. Mero goes down, but now Cam is stuck left by himself.
Oh my gosh, what a monster shot from Cam to turn this one around, and then he follows up with the clutch battle. That matters for him. This tournament is still alive. The opportunity is still at hand here. He's trying to kind of configure this base here, but it has come with a huge price. And look at that in the distance. You can just see it's held up by a wood wall. All of this build barely has a structure, but it doesn't matter. There is so much at play here, Jacob.
He might even be able to reconnect. Cam might be able to put himself in a good spot. Just gotta hope all the duos down below run into so many troubles. The Tick and Liam, you can see them running out of materials, 2 eliminations, trying to give themselves a chance to look up, but don't want to perfectly kind of play into somebody else's hands. Layer by layer, they're lurking around to try to see what they can grab. Even Chris and Drew alive here in the last game. This is the last dance. 9 teams left alive, Monster. 4 of them are stuck as solos.
This is it. Whoever is left as a duo obviously has the better chances to go and push their way through. I'm still seeing Dragon alive and potentially Creon there as well, but Liam is going to be the first to fall. It's all up to Tick's hands now as well. So many solos standing. I mean, you wasn't lying. And they're trading and exchanging now, and another duo falls there. And I mean, this is looking like it might be a walk in the park here.
It just
Or
got that
Cam
much
from the
easier.
high ground.
It just got that much easier. All solos left alive. Nobody has a chance to really look up because of it. Cash is healing off the backside of zone. He is definitely being put on a clock here. How much do you have left in those chug jugs? Cam is using this as an opportunity to potentially drop down, but he's just trying to get a better bird's eye view. The Tick, the first of 4 eliminated here in this game. Cash is still down below. Another player down there with him, and he's finally looking up at the Cam. I'm not sure he's high enough. Shockwaves won't do it, but a chop definitely will. Cam Shockwaves deep in his zone. He's going for the mending machine monster.
He's definitely playing a little side angle here. Cash is seeing it, but he can't lose focus of Void from low ground. Cam comes back. He says, forget the mending. I need to fight for it, but no! Loses the important tag. Void gets the siphon, and he does have a little bit of heals, but Void just trying to assess the situation and hits the monster's shot. And just like that, he'll send himself to the grand finals.
Void and Magma. These guys got 4th place in the last chance qualifier to make it here in the last chance lobby. They were 5 placings out of qualifying from grands through heats, and now they punch their ticket into the grand finals.
Congratulations to the duo. That final seat goes to them, and now they have to turn attention to that finals time. Spots going to the global championships. How much more difficult that lobby, that setting will be. But again, congratulations to them.
I mean, we saw how many new duos were formed for the last chance lobby, but that is not the case for Void and Magma. They have been competing since the start of this season together. They competed in Major number 2 together for the Opens. And so to see them stick it out and then make it all the way to this last chance lobby and then get the final win, that is a beautiful story. And what a better way to end that story, Vivid, than placing and making it to the global championships?
Well, listen, you want to talk about that story, Kelly? You want to talk about full circle? We started the day with a solo clutch, a solo win. And what better way to kind of end this day as well, this last chance lobby with not only a solo clutch, but what felt like a solo lobby. All these solos kind of running around to kind of make it happen. Magma kind of forced to go ahead and probably bite his nails there, watching Void try to go ahead and clutch up the qualification. But sure enough, Void as a solo gets it done. I mean, listen, he had to fend off Cam, who looked like he was in a very good position. But as soon as Cam went down, Void had so many materials, so many resources to kind of work with. At the last shot, it was easy. And Kelly, Void and Magma, each of them will be going to their 4th FNCS Grand Finals.
Ooh, 4th. That's a good start. That's a good number to make it as a, starting to break into the top tier, the tier 1 pros out there. So Void and Magma trying to make a name for themselves now, making it to their 4th grand finals. And to see it as a solo, love to see it. So many incredible winners today. And as you said, Zeke, obviously some heartbreak that's going to be coming out through as well, because although we do have 5 incredible winners, that does mean that 45 teams, unfortunately, are going to be ending their run from Major 2 here. But Zeke, speaking of those winners, we got something we got to talk about.
That's right. We can take a look here at our winners. Can't forget Shadow Virgo got themselves that early victory royale. Madden and Chance picked up game number 2. Game 3, Moneymaker Fanayan, Angel and Joe game 4. And then finally Void and Magma round out that final game. And Void and Magma did come close back in game 3 rather. They did hit 2nd place. So very cool to see them in that last game come back and get themselves the victory royale. Okay, fun Zeke's gone. Sad Zeke is here. Canada did not qualify. This is really tough. Obviously nothing but respect to Canada. Literally a GOAT, one of the best players Fortnite's ever seen, a legend, so like a veteran, so well decorated. But for the first time, Canada will not be making it to an FNCS finals. This is really tough, Kelly. This is super tough.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously, you know, we don't want to talk about all the negatives and everything, and we do want to be happy for all the teams that went their way through. But to see Kanata not be able to make his way through in this giant storyline of being the only player in the world to make it to every FNCS Grand Finals, but I think potentially a spin on it is that this is a good example as to just how much more competitive NAC has been recently. I know that there's always the argument of EU versus NA, and yes, I mean just like the loophole, the pool of players in EU is just that much better. But I think when it comes to our like tier 1s and tier 2s, that they really are upping their game and they're starting to be able to put on a big fight. And so when we see players like Kanata go down and not make it into grands, I think it's because everyone else is starting to step up.
Listen, Kanata, he should still hold his head high because, yes, he had that streak going, he had that record going. But honestly, when you just take a look at him making it to 30 total FNCS finals, right? I think he is still towards the top of that leaderboard as well. So there's still a record kind of held there for Kanata in his own right. And listen, I hope to kind of see him in that last chance major to potentially still qualify to globals.
Listen, and it's fine, right? Even if we lose this title, Kanata just needs to go on, become a global champion, and then everything's fine. Everything is redeemed. That's what we're playing for, right, Kanata? Right? That's what I'm going to hope and believe in my heart of hearts. Fortnite fam, that wraps up the LCL. Next stop for us is finals of major number 2. We're looking to qualify more players onto the global championships or give out some more axes, so much more to play for. Kelly, Viv, I'd love to give you guys the floor here before we start saying goodbye. Anything you'd like to say?
Grand Finals can't be in a couple of days, right? Didn't we just start this? It's so crazy that Major 2 is almost over already. And then to think that we have the last chance major and then EWC and then globals, everything's happening so quickly, so fast. So I don't know, everyone lock in, man, because we got some crazy couple of months of Fortnite heading your way.
Amongst the heats and amongst this last chance qualifier here, just the day-to-day drama that's kind of been going on for how Grand Finals is expected to go, it has been building. Yes, we do have a couple of days until Grand Finals, but those storylines are building. I'm excited to see these specific 50 teams kind of join the same exact lobby for 12 total games over the course of Saturday and Sunday to see how it all breaks down, crown a new champion, and send some teams to the Global Championship.
Oh, man, I cannot wait. That is just a few days away, right? This weekend, we will be here Saturday and Sunday. Don't forget, EU is before us as well. Go over, check out their games, cheer on those teams. A lot of crazy things happening there as well. So until then, Fortnite fam, we love you. Keep yourself safe, and we'll see you on that battle bus.
Beep, beep.
Beep, beep.